Tell us about the tattoos.
Shut the fuck up, you little prick.
But then I've got the Phoenix.
Hey, prick.
So I'll take it from Bob every day of the week.
Absolute disgrace.
I'm sure no one will mind.
Move him out of here, Darren.
Ricky Hatton didn't go over for his fighter because he risked getting abducted and sold into sexual
I never said that.
Both have been rape victims. I'm not watching Frank Buglioni live on Saturday night. You're out of your mind.
Jesus Christ, get yourself a life.
He's actually a priest.
Yeah.
It's because his brother John Fury eye gouged him.
What have I told you all this time? He's going to end up sucked out, fucked out, looking for a handout.
Boxing, nutters, messenger group. I'm gonna be the king.
J-Pump, you know what I'm saying?
Well, hello everybody, and welcome to the 481st edition of the Boxing Asylum Nuthouse podcast. I'm your host, Steve Wellings, and joining us on the call we have Andy Patterson and Matty DiGialinardo, going live on YouTube from 8 o'clock every Sunday evening. The Patreon RSS feed updates shortly after the show concludes. Hello to everyone listening through the week on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and SoundCloud. Don't forget to leave a review on the podcast player of your choice. Throughout the entire month of July, nothing less than 5 stars is acceptable. Shout out as well, Matty, to all of our new listeners. In fact, a friend of mine, I think, is listening in tonight. Shout out to Nicky, one of Ireland's top boxing journalists. He rang me on Friday and he said he was looking for something to do while he was on the old rowing machine, doing a bit of gym, bit of workout. And he tuned into the Asylum. He remembered I did a podcast and that. And he was surprised, Matty, by my levels of professionalism. I mean, how would you be surprised by that? I mean, we bring the professionalism every week, do we not?
I think you are tremendously professional, Steve. I tend to think that that I pale in comparison to your professionalism. I don't know where the measuring sticks exist, but in my world, you are exquisitely professional.
There we are. The measuring sticks out already. Matty's with us. So we're having a good time on a Sunday night already. There's people in the chat. The pond life of the chat will no doubt bring us down to some kind of level. We'll give them a shout out later on. We'll look at Briedis in Australia, Value of the Week. So we've had some questions come in. Look at the action for next week. I think Magsayo's on. There's a couple more as well on the schedule, including some action from Russia. But we only have one place to start this weekend. That's Frank Warren, the man himself. He's still putting cards on in 2022, Saturday, the 2nd of July, Wembley Arena. Frank Warren Promotions, Joyce getting a 4th round knockout win over Christian Hammer. He's a bit of a strange phenomenon, isn't he, Joyce, Andy? We've said this before. I actually quite like him. The Juggernaut. It's a fitting nickname for him. He's an exciting big lump. He comes in, throws bombs, grinds people down. He was the same when he fought Stiverne. Just took loads of right hands. Same against Takam. He relied on his chin because he has no respect for the opponent's power. Last night against Hammer was exactly the same. Against Daniel Dubois, he held the gloves up higher, showed more movement, boxed off the jab. Is it a case of him adapting that style whenever he meets somebody who can potentially do him damage? That person was not Christian Hammer.
Yeah, actually just took away my first point, actually, mate. That was what I was thinking as well. It must be just, what he's fancying on the night. He must, look at it and say, I'm better than you. It doesn't matter what you land on me. But at the same time, you've got to be concerned. I thought if Hammer was able to kind of follow up on some of those shots, maybe 3-4 punches or whatever, and then maybe move it or grapple. But in the day, he didn't look in great shape, did he? It looked like he had ripples of pies running about his belly and that. And to be honest, I think he gassed pretty quick. And to start mauling a guy like Joyce, he's just going to gas you out even more, I suppose. But it is a bit of a worry. I mean, if that was Wilder landing those right hands there last night, do we really think that Joyce is going to really take on them? He'll take all of them. The thing is, if he does, this is the thing. If he does take them and keeps taking them, and there's going to be a problem somewhere down the line. But as you say, the Dubois fight was slightly different. He was on the jab as a bit more hands up, as you mentioned, and that. So maybe it is down to kind of a bit of respect here and there. I don't know when the last time Hammer won a fight. I don't even check his record, to be honest. But at this point, he is what he is. He's a journeyman. Joyce is just basically treading water at this point, waiting for his title shot. We've been saying this now for the last couple of fights. I don't see the Dubois rematch getting made anytime soon. I don't think Frank would want to make it either. He's got that belt there. He's got one of his fighters in a position. Obviously, Joyce is kind of like sitting in the wings as well. So just need to wait and see how the Saudi Arabia fight goes, and then we'll let the politics play out. But I'm interested to see what comes first, the BA or the BO title fight, because either Joshua or Usyk is going to have an issue here. I think they're going to have to either start dumping belts, or they're going to have to kind of go up with these mandatories. But as I say, at the same time, Joyce done what he's got to do. I know the fight was on our prediction league last week, and I was saying to you guys, I was fucking raging. I was shouting at the computer, "Survive, you cunt! You've got 10 seconds to go." And no, he ended the day. They've got Matty in America. He took the under on the 3.5 rounds, and he's fucking gone mental, saying, "Yes, he's waved it off." So at least one of us got a win this weekend. So fair play to Matty in that regard.
Fair play to Matty. Well done, Matty. Go on.
Yeah, you guys didn't get a single point this last week. I just want to make sure to point that out there. And but on the better side of things, though, Steve, for those that listen to the Asylum for some level of expertise, we don't always get everything right. Like obviously, one of the fights we missed pretty big, but we through what you guys said, I set the line on that at 3.5 rounds. And it ended about 10 seconds before that ticker mark at halfway through the 4th round. The odds makers had that fight at 7.5 rounds for the over-under. So anybody who was listening to that and our discussion on the fight, if you bet that and you just bet on the idea that our under was so separated from the bookies, you made out on that one really, really well. We set a fantastic line through our discussion last week.
Did you bet on it?
Yeah. I did. So
7.5.
Yeah. So that was square one. That was smooth. And I think you guys. The thing with that is, Hammer is usually pretty durable. But he taking it on a little bit of short notice and stuff. He obviously wasn't in exceptional shape. And Joyce is just a powerful guy. You're not going to be able to walk him down, which is really the only thing that Hammer was going to be able to do. And Joyce just took it. I mean, ate those shots like Pez, did not give a fuck about was coming back, and managed to take out the lump with some body shots and going to the head. He picked those body shots well. A few of those he was hooking off him. I mean, you could hear him thudding. Landed some great punches, but Hammer was there for the taking. But again, good call on the early stoppage on that one, guys, because we got that one far better than the bookies did.
Couple of interesting points from you there, Matty. First of all, like the shots to the body, it's something that's neglected at times in the heavyweights, but if you're going to get a big fat lump like Hammer out of there, the body shots are the key. Also, he is pretty durable, but I've noticed that durability's gone down a bit. Before, Andy would have lasted the distance against the better guys like Fury, say, some 7 or 8 years ago. He ended up in the 9th or the 10th, and now his durability's going down. Now he seems to be like a 4 or 5 round kind of guy, but Joyce did exactly the right things he needed to do, apart from taking those shots. Now, one of these days, somebody's going to catch him, I think, and he's just going to go. Could be Wilder, could be somebody else. Got a note from one of our correspondents, Matty, before we went live. He said Ismail Salas was drilling Joe Joyce to avoid the overhand right when they were in the changing room warming up. He was looping his glove on a mop stick, jousting glove stick. It's a little worrying that after all that, Joyce then struggled to replicate that in the fight. I think our correspondent's right there. I noticed Salas with these sort of Gary Glitter platform heels trying to drum it into him not to take the right hand, and then he must have took about 20 of it in the first couple of rounds.
I think Salas is the wrong trainer for Joyce, because if you look at what Joyce is about, I mean, obviously the jab is a good part of his game, and if Fury is really retired, don't you think that a guy like Joyce, a big man, good jab, ability to impose himself, I'd love to see him work with Sugar Hill if Fury is really done. I think that Kronk style would be exceptional for Joyce. What do you think?
Yeah, I think some guys gel and sometimes some guys don't. But I mean, whether Joyce and Salas is the right combination, it doesn't feel to me, Matty, like the right combination. I don't have that gut feeling. Salas is riding higher at the moment as well, isn't he? He's got quite a few fighters under his wing. Can he give Joyce the time and attention, the love and care at nearly 40 years of age that he needs? I would be in agreement with you. I'm not sure Salas is the right man either.
Well, and it's all a matter of, like, for this fight, like, I don't think it matters who trained Joyce for this fight, right? He wasn't going to lose to Hammer, not this version of Joyce against this version of Hammer. It's not happening, 99 times out of 100 he's going to beat him. It's all a matter of, can he get the time when that big moment arrives? Because if for some reason, say through whatever happens, you end up with Deontay Wilder and Joe Joyce, he might eat those right hands for 3 rounds, maybe, but you can't keep eating those. It's not going to happen. There's plenty of guys with talent in the division. There's southpaws with good right hooks that are going to be more reflective of maybe the angle that Hammer was throwing some of them right hands from. So Joyce has something to fix for the top level, but it didn't matter here. But I think that choice in trainers is really going to matter when it comes to the big stage.
Just one more quick point before we go back to Andy as well, Matty. I mentioned the body shots weakening Hammer. Also, body shots had been it might have been a one-off, we don't know. Bryant Jennings caught Joyce with a decent body shot back when they fought, and he sort of stunned him for a round or two. If you catch anyone with a decent body shot in the right place at the right time, it's going to hurt them. So as I said, it could have been a one-off, but maybe targeting the big unit's body could be a tactic for someone in the future if they can get down that far that quickly, I suppose, Matty.
Yeah, I think the tough thing with that is getting the assault on the way in to be able to do that. What fighters in the heavyweight division do you think have the physicality to set up shop on Joyce's chest? I think that's a tough question.
Yeah, I'm trying to think. I remember back
Gerald
to
Miller. Like, he could just lean in, Gerald.
I see he's
Possibly.
got another fight booked for later on this month, actually. So
Has
he's getting active. He's getting active, the big man.
He'll probably be 320 pounds for this fight.
I think, Matty, someone said a while ago, I could be getting this completely wrong. Didn't Sergei Kuzmin hurt Joyce as an amateur? I think he might have even knocked him out. I say knocked him out liberally, loosely in the amateur terms. He shook him up, hit him with the right hand. The referee stopped it, but he can be hit and can be hurt, I suppose.
Yeah, I don't know about that whatsoever, but I mean, that's the thing about heavyweight boxing, and it's why, and I've said this before, it's almost a separate sport, because when you're that big, any guy with the right shot is going to take you out. That it's a whole lot of fucking force coming through there. So anybody getting hurt, stopped in the heavyweight division wouldn't shock me. It's the question of chin is far different in heavyweight boxing than it is through the lighter divisions.
Shout out to Johnny Horsecock Nelson. He's thrown in a 79p super chat. If I could refund it, I would, Johnny. What's this going on, 79p? What can you buy, Andy, with 79p these days? Not much, I suppose. A couple of drops of petrol.
You couldn't even buy a Curly Wurly with 79 pence these days, mate.
A crust of bread, literally.
Then you get a thimble full of petrol, man, or a fucking drop it.
A Vida loaf, mate. Well, you wouldn't even, I don't know, 79p, I don't think so. Fuck off, Johnny, with that. Thanks very much for the super chat. Des has thrown in a question, which is a good one. We'll get to that shortly. Andy, continuing on the theme from Joyce, you mentioned on his next kind of moves, whoever's ultimately in charge of his career is going to have to pull a rabbit out the hat soon, I think, because he's not getting any younger. Age is creeping up. He's sure as hell not getting any faster. He's number one with the WBO, which is held by his old World Series of Boxing rival, Usyk. But the only chance that he's going to get a shot is to reinforce a mandatory slot, because no one's going to be queuing up to fight him. He's an awkward night's work for anybody.
Yeah, I suppose it's a bit like Usyk, I suppose. I remember was it the whole shebang about the Fury-Joshua fight? Remember it fell apart. And I can't mind. It was meant to happen in the Middle East, wasn't it? And then Usyk obviously got his lawyer involved. He invoked his mandatory clause. He wanted the shot now. So you maybe see Joyce having to do the same, but obviously we need to wait till after this fight. As you were mentioning there, actually, about guys who could maybe handle him, i.e., kind of like grapple with him, because as you say, he's a big unit, he's going to take some shifting. There's no many actually, to be honest with you. I had a quick look through the rankings as you were talking there. I'm just thinking about names for for potential opponents. I was looking forward to the Parker fight, I must admit. Whatever's happened there, poor. I will say this. Maybe throw in maybe Frank Sanchez's name, but possibly he's still undefeated, isn't he? Other than that, mate, you're going to have to start pulling. You say rabbit out the hatches. You look at your Bacolis, Caballeros, Otto Wallen, Michael Hunter. Maybe even Big Zhang, for example. And one name I did notice, I couldn't believe it when I saw it actually. Number 11 with IBF rankings, Cash Ali. My God. I took a deep intake of breath when I saw that one, like, to be honest with you. But
has he beaten some Slovakian road sweeper for like a fringe title or something? Is that where? How's he got up there?
Roman Gost, I think he beat some German guy.
It's just so fucked up that Cash Ali is a double misnomer. I mean, he totally neither.
Yeah, but the thing is as well. See, you can't even throw Hughie Fury's name in there as a potential opponent because it seems to him like he's just medically just no fit most of the time. He's whatever his illness is, and that seems to be kind of like cropping up here and there. Hergovich is the other one who's been kind of like getting passed over for potential opponents for eliminated for the IBF slot. Maybe make that fight. I don't know if Hergovich has got something arranged now at this point, to be honest with you, but Hergovich, big dude, decent punch. I think they might have faced each other in the amateurs possibly. I don't know, mate. I mean, Tony Mediocre's been exposed. He would not last 5 rounds with Joyce, to be honest with you. He'd need to be on his bike the whole
It's difficult
fight.
too, Andy, when you're so high ranked as well. You're sitting on a thing, you can't blame them, and things move so slowly, glacial paced in boxing. And you're like, we're waiting for this to be resolved before this can happen, And you think, well, why take a risky fight that could then get them knocked off that top slot? Or, it's just all
and this is the thing as well. If you start going down the list of fighters, someone who's maybe like lesser ranked, you start then doing what you did there last night, taking unnecessary shots, unnecessary punishment, and then when your time comes to have your big fight, you're possibly even washed or maybe just past your peak by that point. And he's 30, 35 now at this point.
36, I think he is.
He's got a lot of miles in the clock with that amateur success that he had in that as well. He even had the World Series of Boxing run as well. So he's by no means young, but I don't blame him at this point sitting there on that ranking. But as I say, he's been there for at least 18 months, 2 years possibly.
Start calling him Joe Aquendo.
Aye. Exactly. You go to court and get his shots and that. But as I say,
call Tom Sadas. He's the only one that can make this happen.
No, Frez has fallen out with Tom Sadas.
No, I know Tom's probably looking for something to do now. Someone's got to maneuver Joyce in there, and Tom fell out with Steve for that.
Tom fell out with Steve. I think Steve with a savage comment to the poor bastard, mate. That was quality when he says.
What did I say to him?
You say I can't mind the actual full context of it, but you kind of ended it by saying, why should I care about Frez Aquendo?
Well, yeah, I agree with myself.
That's a reasonable question.
Did I say that to him?
Yeah, so it was. But hang on, mate, it wasn't like a snide comment. It was like it was something along the lines like what was it? I try to remember the context of it.
Oh, like sell it to me. Like, why should I be invested in him getting
something like that? Something along those lines. Aye.
Well, it's true, isn't it?
You took him off by guard. I could hear it in his like instant response. He's like that kind of like fucking hell. He's coming at me here, So aye, that was good. But in terms of opponents, mate, as I say, there's anything below the top 10, shall we say? I think he'd probably beat most of them or all of them really. It just comes down to complacency or just taking the wrong shot at the wrong time. Who knows, mate? But I just don't know who they can match. But I was looking forward to the Parker fight. I think Michael Hunter could give him problems with his movement, but ultimately I think he maybe get to him and then break him down. Especially if Hunter maybe starts to gas. I mean, Big Daddy Brown's back in the top 10 now. So what the fuck, man? You go to Big Makhmudov over in Canada. He's a big hitter, but not being tested. Luis Ortiz, the grandfather, he's still kicking about in the top.
Ortiz is getting ready to fight Andy Ruiz.
And that's right, pay-per-view, eh?
Fuck me.
And that brings up Big Gabe's mate, Robert Helenius, number 2 with the WBA. So
Joyce against Helenius?
That could be interesting.
It's got to be at least fucking
It's gotta be
more
something
interesting than what's on the schedule right now. I mean, fucking give me something, goddammit.
Well, I'll give you something about Dillian White. Supposed to be a free agent.
Yeah. Well, Sam put this comment in, Andy, in the chat last night. He said in the Nutters group, he said it's like watching a fighter slowed down to 0.25 speed. So could you imagine Joe Joyce and Robert Helenius fighting each other?
Oh, mate.
You'd be watching 24 rounds, I think, wouldn't you?
You'd be watching it in 2.5 speed, wouldn't you?
Just to put it up to normal.
Exactly. Aye. You just not be sitting there for a fucking hour.
Good quip from Sam. Robert Baker's thrown in a message here. He said, always download you on iTunes every Monday. Love you, man. Best boxing podcast by far. Love you too as well, Robert. Thank you very much for joining us on this Sunday evening. Also, Joe Burns is here. Shout out, where you at, Chris Burns? Joe's thrown in 179. Evening, lads and Ed. What do you think about Joyce Jagba, Matty? It's a bit of a joke because of Bunsey last night. But I tell you what, see if Jagba landed one of them right hands on Joyce, things might get interesting very quickly.
They could, and Jagba has nothing to lose at this point in time, and I think they'd probably see that as an easy enough out for Joyce. So it's not impossible. And I don't know if Jagba has any more relationship with the PBC either at this point in time.
No, I don't think so. I think he's away now. He went to Top Rank, didn't he? So that's the end of him. John.
Oh, there you go.
Johnny Horsecott Nelson's here, 449. Made me feel bad now, as you should, Johnny, as you should.
You know, what's funny, actually, is before he put that in, I was doing the math in my head, Steve, and almost exactly his original 79 offering covered the 30% on Joe Burns. So we would have cleared 179 between the two of them, 180, give or take.
He's covering the percentages for us, then, Johnny Nelson, in advance.
There you go.
Parlay, exactly. Barry Bibbs jumped in. Shout out to you, Barry. Haven't seen you before. Got Frank Bruno there in his little avatar, 179. Bacoli, yep, Bacoli against Joyce. Wouldn't mind seeing that either. The fights are out there if they will indeed take them. They are there to be made. I had another good point to make, but I think I've forgotten it. So we've maybe exhausted all the Joyce chat for now. We'll move on to the undercard, which is also featured in the prediction league. Matty, Jason Cunningham going against Solani Tete. We maybe read too much into Tete's demise as much as we read into Cunningham's rise. All of a sudden, the levels were on display. Cunningham looked a little bit cautious. He looked like the non-puncher that he is. He's a good boxer. He's been a Cinderella man. But Tete jumped in there with the big shots and just got him out of there in round 4.
Yeah, it was pretty surprising. I mean, all of us were going for Cunningham in one way or another. We thought that Tete was long in the tooth, going up a division against a bigger guy on a good run. You know, everything should have added up to the Cunningham victory there. Nope, that was incorrect. That left-handed Tete's is still wicked. Landed at a couple of really solid shots in that 4th round. And the last one might have been unnecessary. The ref might have stopped that fight about 2 seconds too late. But Tete moves onwards and upwards, and it seems that Cunningham is going to be stuck somewhere around the domestic European level.
Domestic European level is not the worst level to be at, I suppose, Andy. The European title wouldn't have been on the line last night because Tete is a South African. But as I said to Matty there,
the British title, mate.
The British title. It's all falling apart for poor old Cunningham, but he did look tentative when he took a couple of early shots from Tete, as he might well do. And then I was having shades of Paul Butler. All of a sudden, out the blue, caught him with that cracking shot. And he's a devastating, hard-hitting finisher. And it all seemed so simple. All of a sudden, I thought, well, yeah, of course, Tete is going to be too good for this level. I read too much into the previous fight against Casemiro.
Yeah, the thing was as well was it was the cuteness how Tete set up that first knockdown. You just see him kind of just taking the wee half step back twice, I think it was, and then just put the jab out there. Just wasn't looking to kind of land it, but then just brought the left hand straight behind it. Cunningham was really shaky getting up there. Ref, I think it was Howard Foster, gave him a good look. Tete just came straight in. I think he hit him with 2 left hands. And then he was kind of like all over the place, and then he's caught him with a left. I think it was another left hand late. His head's bounced off the canvas. They are the knockouts that really kind of worry me sometimes. And it's a bit like Hartman against Pacquiao when you get instantly knocked out. So apparently, what happens when you get knocked out? It's an accelerated concussion. But then when you hit the fucking deck and your head bounces off it, it's meant to de-accelerate it. And it can actually be even worse for you. If I didn't just bounce once, it kind of twice or 3 times it kind of came up off that canvas. So glad he's okay at this point anyway. Hopefully he's a wee bit under observation. And look, to be honest, look, we kind of felt like, okay, Cinderella man, running a good run at this point, sorry, and you think, okay, maybe the time is now to strike, and Tete just shown that he's still got that class. And fair play to Cunningham, look, he took a risk. End of the day, there's fighters, supposed, flagship fighters, shall we say, of other promoters who aren't even taking that type of risk, going in against, ex-world champions, for example, or guys who are, serious issues, or guys who can actually crack. So fair play to Cunningham, he took a risk. If he'd won, we'd be all talking about him having like a great upset win and potential world title fight. But sadly got knocked out badly, and Tete just showing that he's still got that wee bit extra bit of class about him still at this point. Whatever he does now actually for his title fights, in all honesty, I just I don't know if he's got the beating of Fulton, to be honest with you, or even at this point Akhmadaliev. We just need to wait and see. Obviously he's got a puncher's chance, we'll wait and see. I think Fulton would be a wee bit too cute for him, to be honest with you.
He certainly would be. MB said that he got it wrong. We got it wrong too as well. Des is saying here, it might be that they got the timing just right with Tete, but they got it wrong, badly wrong. Cunningham knew the first minute of round one, Tete was the real deal. I agree with Des there on that comment as well. Just before we go on to the rest of the undercard, I just want to say something. I don't usually do RIPs or anything like that. I'm not really too good at that type of stuff, like Chukwu, but I noticed that Tete had I think his mom had passed away. He had that on the T-shirt, and RIP Mama and all that. I remember whenever Tete knocked out that Siboney's Ogonyo in Belfast, I was at that fight. It only lasted about 8 seconds, but Tete's mom and all of her friends were sitting behind us. And tell you what, she was some character. They never stopped singing, dancing throughout the whole thing. My friend Barry Fitzgerald from Air TV was with them at the time of their life. So she was a real vocal, strong character at ringside. So yeah, I suppose RIP in this instance for Tete's loss there.
I've seen someone as well, mate, was it for that same fight? Or when he won the world title, I think she lose a leg or something, and she was in a wheelchair.
Right,
And he used the money to get her a prosthetic. That was a few years ago, so just to add that bit in as well. I've seen someone mention that earlier on there.
Yeah. R.I.P. Mama Tete. She's away, but we shall move on to the chat, no less. Let's see who's hanging around in there. Johnny Horsecock Nelson's already thrown in a super chat. Shout out to him. Sad Ken is there as well. Des, MB, Mark Stanton, Michael Thompson. He was playing the guitar earlier on today, but he's with us this Sunday evening in the Nuthouse chat room. Yimmy Yappy, Cal Cheds, excuse me, Ryan Ormerod is there as well. So is CHR, Nathan Ford. Good to see you there as well, Nathan. Let's see if there's any new names, anyone we haven't seen before. Adam Hughes, he's always good for a quip or two. Jiminy Pissflaps. Sorry, Jiminy, I didn't mean to misrepresent you there. Deanch with more ease than Ricky Graville is in the chat as well. So is Danny Young. Gavin, welcome to you, Gavin. No last name for him, but he doesn't need one. Barry Bibbs there as well. Joe Burns, who's also thrown us in a few quid. Sean Edwards, I think I'm right in saying Sean Edwards can't stand Hater Dave, so no Hater Dave tonight for you. Stephen Hill, final couple as well before we move on to the next one. Take Ames is with us.
Who hates Dave?
Sean Edwards isn't a fan of Hater Dave. Again, Sean, if I've misrepresented you, then no apologies. But yeah, I think it's Sean Edwards. He's not a fan of Dave there, Andy.
All right, that's a shame.
I know it is, isn't it? There's Harvey Price boxing.
Not entirely uncommon, though.
Trevor Boyle and Paul Dugan and Northern Monkey. Final one to you, Northern Monkey. Good to see you in there. Oh, Iron Fisted Champion has jumped in as well. And Big A is always with us on a Sunday evening. So shout out to him. Anything else on the undercard, Andy? I must admit, I was labouring during that Mark Chamberlain fight against Vidal. I was flicking back and forward between the world seniors darts. That's the level I was at.
I'll be honest with you right now, mate. I had it on in the background and I wasn't really paying attention to it. I think I was flicking between. What was I doing yesterday? Actually, I had a bit of a hangover. That's what it was. So I was not just going to nurse myself through that. But I was shocked as to how long that card went on. I don't even think the main event started after 10 o'clock.
Were you shocked though? Really?
Well, I know it's a Frank show though. But come on, man. You had a fight drop off that card. I'm sure, wasn't there? What was the fight dropped off that card?
Callum Johnson, Igor Michalkin. Oh, and Nathan Heaney as well.
I think the only comedy value we got last night was fucking Bunsey talking about Ifya Jagba being the next future of the heavyweight division. I thought that was brilliant. I've never heard anybody say. I know people were kind of bigging him up a bit or giving him a lot of copy, but I don't recall anyone saying he was the fucking future of the heavyweight division.
I'll tell you what, though, Andy, they got to 10 o'clock and all of a sudden Frank must have been panicking, sweating. Oh, I'm going to have to get the main event on. It's only 10 o'clock. He should have dug a few floaters up, man. Maybe he got Johnny Greaves in a cab or something like that.
Fuck. He's probably sitting in the crowd. Go get your gloves for next door. I tell you what, that's what Frank's gonna have to start doing that. Get these fellas. Just grab some fucking guy in the crowd. Well, all these cunts that are coked up, for example, when the crowd think they're it. Put them in the fucking ring, man, and see how it goes. We're fucking far entertaining to listen to Buncey talk about Effie Jagba anyway. I tell you that.
See, this like pitiful time in sports. And watching senior darts reminds me of when they first started sports gambling over here. And you could actually, one of the few sports that you can actually watch on the apps, and, because of the time difference, be coming on about midnight, but you could bet on Russian table tennis and fucking watch it. So I was sitting here, just betting dimes on fucking, it was usually Sergey against Sergey, but just fucking whatever. I don't give a fuck. I didn't even know who was who, but I just sit there and watch these fucking table tennis matches on my phone. I just remember how boring it was at that time.
Sergey against Sergey. It wasn't like those Indian shows that you alerted me to, was it, Matty? With who have we got here? The House of Warriors Boxing Academy in New Delhi next Saturday evening. You can throw a few quid on Shiva, maybe, or what about Mahesh or Dharmender, or maybe you could put some money on Manish or Gaurav, Matty.
They really like the mononyms over there, Steve, and I do believe, though, since Shiva's a god, and if you're going to at least go with the mononym of a god, you shouldn't be losing. Hey, who's this fuck with with these blemishes on his record, calling himself a god? Fuck Shiva. Shiva sucks.
There are blemishes in this life. Old Shiva is 14-3-1 at the moment. I remember Suraj turned up on the Carl Frampton Jamel Herring undercard in Dubai. So shout out to Suraj. But yeah, there's a lot of mononym action going on. The good old TBA, Matty, sneaking in at the bottom. Just a few places below Prince, 3-3.
Isn't that shocking that they don't have the card complete when they literally have like a billion people to choose from?
I don't know. Hopefully they can dig up some more, but there you go. That's the Indian card next week. We'll maybe give you a rundown. Maybe Team Magsayo will be watching that one. You never know. Let's go on to Australia. The events were quite happening down there. We had, where were we? Gold Coast Convention Centre, Queensland. Looked like they're having a great time. Anyway, shout out to Tasman Boxing, I think it was, who were putting on the show. They really bet the house on this one. They needed their man to win. Tell you what, Andy, it was a good, solid, grueling fight. Jay Opetaia against Maris Briedis. Opetaia started really well. Briedis came back into it towards the end. Opetaia, what a gutsy as hell guy, fighting with that broken jaw, smashed to pieces. Briedis as well, damaged nose, gushing blood, bit of a cut as well. His power started to shine through towards the end. It was a good fight, but the word for me is grueling. It was just a real grueler of a fight.
It was I don't know if anybody's seen that tweet from Ben Damon. Actually, he says he's posted up Opetaia's scan. He's actually got 2 fractures side to side, one on each side. So one happened in round 2, and I think the last one happened in round 12. So I don't care if you've got any sort of adrenaline pumping through, you're going to feel that. People saying when you get injured, in the moment that adrenaline rush is going to push you through it. No chance, mate. He would be fucking feeling that heavily.
Yeah, bullshit.
Heavily.
Ask Victor Ortiz.
Exactly. Fuck. Well, that's after Abraham as well. Jesus Christ. But no, I thought the early half of that fight, Opetaia was doing a real number on Briedis. Sorry. Thought he was strong. Definitely fought intelligent. Good bounce on his feet. Good jab. Kept it simple. Kept it good boxing. Dropped a few body shots and that as well. But Briedis, I felt really had to start getting more aggressive and into the fight, roughly about the 5th and 6th rounds. I thought he was really having to start, getting to work, and that's probably much what he did. He got a broken nose. I don't know if it was off a headbutt or whatever it was. But fair play to both guys. I'm going to read download this again and actually watch it again at some point, because it was, as you say, grueling. One that definitely could take the prime for Opetaia as well, because you were mentioning last week that this guy sparred Deontay Wilder, taking his right hands. So you're wondering as well, will that heel be the same again? Because you were mentioning he seems to be tough, he could take a shot, and obviously sparring with Wilder or whatever. It's
Well-
testament, and that proved it there as well yesterday as well.
You heard him after the fight, Andy. Like maybe that was the jaw, or maybe his brain's rewired because all he could get out was.
I can't believe they tried to interview a guy with like his jaw was busted. Well, what do you think about this, Jay? And he's like,
He's like, oh. So
Poor
poor
fella.
bastard, but at least he's just turned away and walked away. That's what he should have done. But as I say, it was no doubt in my mind Opetaia won the fight. I thought Briedis kind of came on strong toward the end. Obviously, he had to, really, didn't he? It just looked, to me, at least, slower step. I don't know if it's the weight or if he's just old new at this point, but I thought Opetaia was far quicker, far crisper, and more than worthy more than worthy, to win the fight, and to do it with a broken jaw, 2 fractures. It's just testament to how gutsy and ballsy he is, mate. So fair play to both guys to put on a good fight. That was fucking brutal to watch. Like,
Andy, just quickly, you mentioned there the fight that I was thinking about as well. Broken jaw, 2006. Arthur Abraham against Edison Miranda. That was the fight that came to mind. Interestingly enough, that was a Solarland show as well. Wilfred and Callie was there hanging around in Australia yesterday.
Interesting,
Just a
that's
daft
it.
coincidence, but there you go.
I've seen the Wasserman actually sign
Uh-huh.
advertisement running about the ring and that during that fight. So it was interesting. Poor Abraham, man. That guy should have been pulled out of that fight, and you could hear him squealing when the fucking doctor started touching his jaw and that. Oh my god. Oh fuck me.
Well, we done the punches from the past.
Aye.
They were ready to finish the fight up. They thought Abraham was going to win. Then all of a sudden, someone from the commission says, "No, hang on a minute. It's been caused by a punch." And then Callie or Nissi or Wilfred, whichever one it was like, "Sorry,
back in
Arthur, you're going to have to go out for another 6 rounds." They said to referee Randy Newman, "Get him back out there." His jaw was just hanging off his face.
And the thing is, this is Edison Miranda. This guy could actually crack in his prime to fucking crack his jaw. Fucking hell. But yeah, I was just thinking, was that a mandatory? Because listen, that isn't just a belt that he's picked up there, Opetaia. That's the ring title. Briedis was classed as the supposed lineal champion in that division. So he's the ring champion now as well. And so all roads should lead through him.
And Steve started the show with Joe Joyce.
Well,
obviously as well. I mean, obviously if there's, Eddie's going to be on top of this now, try and maybe get the Okoli fight made. Try and get the unification made in that regard. Make Okoli number 1. We'll wait and see. But as I say, Opetaia, he's going to boot for a while. Obviously, he's not going to fight again this year. So you just need to see how that heals. I've seen some comments saying in that Ben Damon tweet saying that sometimes those fractures do come back healing stronger. So if he's going to come back with a Marvin Hagler type chin, then fucking watch out.
Yeah, Opetaia. Sad Ken says Malinaji Cotto. Yes, that is a fight I
Yeah.
have not watched in a long time. Tell you what, Malinaji, for all of his faults, Andy, showed his balls that night because he had no chance of beating Cotto. He couldn't punch, as we know, and he hung in there like a dog, and he was getting beaten from pillar to post at the end, and his jaw was a bad one.
I don't know if it was his jaw. It wasn't the eye shot. It was on his cheek.
Oh, was it a fractured cheekbone?
I think it was a fractured cheekbone, possibly.
Something on his face was
it
just
was definitely.
completely contorted.
And the thing is, that was 140 as well. So that's when Miguel Cotto was like, he was a savage at 140. Like, even. Well, he only mainly trained to make weight at 140, Cotto, but he was a bit of a savage. So obviously, the hat was kicking about around about that time. But I just think the timing was off with the weight as well because Cotto was forced to move up.
If Malinaji could crack an egg, he would have been an interesting fighter. And when I think of his punch, the best punch he probably landed in his career, it was the second fight with Juan Diaz. He landed a right hand that actually hurt Diaz.
Right.
And the most surprised look in the entire house was Paulie Malinaji's.
I remember that rematch as well. Seaman used to land these shots. He would actually turn and bend into the fucking judges at ringside and say, "Did you see that punch? Did you see that combination?" Because he got hosed in the first fight, remember?
Absolutely
He should have won the first fight.
Yeah, he got absolutely jacked in that first fight. That might be one of the worst decisions I've seen. Like that's one of those ones where I don't think there's an argument whatsoever.
I'll tell you what, one of the shocking one was Kotelnik against Alexander. Devin Alexander was fucking outrageous, man. Kotelnik outboxed his ass for fucking 12 rounds and still he gave it to like Alexander like 117, 110 or whatever it was, 117, 111. So one of the worst ones that I can recall.
Kotelnik won at least 8 rounds in that fight.
Yeah.
I don't know how that one fucking happened. That's awful. And well, the good point is awful decisions happen everywhere. God, we took this off the rails, but like,
Yeah.
I mean, literally everywhere. You can't name a country where there hasn't been an absolutely awful decision that you've witnessed, except for countries where they don't have many fights.
Also, shout out to awful decisions where the right man got it, but it was like way too close or split. I'm thinking of things like even like Bivol Canelo, but more importantly, recently, Bakoli against Yoka. Even
Yeah.
though Bakoli won, it still left a bad taste in my mouth for some reason because it was just utterly ridiculous coming to a split and being so close on the cards that he did actually win.
See, if it hadn't been for the knockdowns in that fight, that'd have been a draw.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
They would have fucked him over, by the way, and it never got mentioned because the right man won the fight, and that's what's wrong. That's absolutely what is wrong here. So again, protection, home advantage is always vital sometimes, but you get home cooking like that when it's absolutely undeniable that they were going to try and fuck him over. You say Canelo against Bivol. I was looking at that fight there yesterday. Actually, I mean, it was quite close. The cards there, 115, 113 against Opetaia, Briedis. I mean, as I say, I thought Opetaia was tremendous the first 5-6 rounds, possibly even shutout. So,
see, and that's where the fight was. Like, I think if you snuck a couple of those to Briedis, it might have been closer. But I mean, he might have swept those first 6 rounds. He just might have.
116, 112 seemed about right to me. Possibly 115, 113. I know, but Briedis definitely hurt him in the 7th. He had a good 10th as well. But there was no hometown controversy. Opetaia definitely deserved it for me, even though it was in Australia.
100%. He absolutely earned that one, and it was. And I think in the calculus for this fight, I think a lot of us weren't. I mean, I was lukewarm towards Opetaia winning. I thought it would be more hometowny, to be honest with you. But I think what we didn't consider that he does have an exceptional depth of amateur background. I remember when we talked about the first time when the fight came up, we were looking it up, and he's at 16 years old he made it onto the 2012 Australian Olympic team, things of that nature. So obviously he had a certain amount of skills, younger, bigger. But what surprised me as far as Briedis went, you kind of would have thought the story of this fight might have been the younger guy wearing down the older guy late, but it was exactly inverted, where the younger guy started running out of gas late, and the older guy, who you thought might have been on some worn out legs, managed to actually land the harder punches down the stretch. It was an interesting fight as far as the narrative went.
Also, as well, regarding Opetaia, like you say, Briedis was coming on stronger towards the end, but then I thought Opetaia won the 11th, and then he did a really good job in the 12th of just negating Briedis, so that round could have gone either way. He got his distance spot on all night, and Briedis struggled to get inside of him, but also Matty Opetaia wasn't afraid to rough him up, tie him up, grapple with him when it was necessary, which is fair game because Briedis is physically strong. And let's make no bones about it, Briedis is a dirty bastard too. We all saw him elbow that fella in the face before. And I mean, I know it's, I'm just saying though, he's not afraid to do a bit of rough stuff himself, is he? But Opetaia was like, yeah, fair enough, I'll just do that too.
Yeah, I mean, that's how you got to fight people like that, right? You just kind of have to be willing to play their game, and I would imagine that he hydrated up to a higher weight than Briedis on the night. You saw him early on backing Briedis up into the ropes quite a bit, working the body. And again, I think more so than stamina, I think the story down the stretch is that Maurice Briedis has a lot of will to keep his title, and that he is a true warrior in the ring. But Steve, I'm trying to think. Would you consider this possibly the best cruiserweight fight since the conclusion of the Super Six?
I don't know. I'm useless to questions like that. I could probably say yes, absolutely, and someone in the chat will be going, "What about such and such?" And I'll be like, "Oh yeah, I forgot all about that." That's still stuck in John Mark Mormec O'Neill Bell territory, Matty.
That's a great fight. That's a great fight. But yeah, and it is good because people in the chat throw some things out there. But I was thinking about it as the fight started wearing on. I'm like, this is a really good fight, and I can't remember the last time I saw a cruiserweight fight that I enjoyed this much.
Yeah, it was a great fight. The boys in the chat are actually throwing out some information here. Alan Stacey and Johnny Horsecock Nelson having a back and forth regarding Ryan Burnett. That fight they're talking about was Ryan Burnett against Lee Haskins. I was actually at that fight, and Clark Sammartino was the judge. He got the two fighters mixed up. He thought Burnett was Haskins and Haskins was Burnett. And I'll never forget at the end, they goes, Burnett had absolutely dominated the fight. This was to win the IBF title. And at the end, the MC is like, we have a split decision. I remember looking at David Mohan from the Andytown News, and I was like, what the fuck? And everyone at ringside was like, what? And then he was like, Judge Sammartino 119, 109 or whatever it was. It's like, what? And it turned out he actually was watching it thinking that the fighters were each other. I mean, he's dead
And
now.
the thing is,
poor old clock.
Burnett had his name emblazoned across his trunks. So is he dyslexic as well?
I'll never forget that. He was getting on in years, Andy. I think he was well into his 80s at that point. But yeah, I don't think he judged again after that.
I actually followed that fight on Twitter. Actually, I was in Denmark on holiday, and I was going toward the end of the holiday, so I didn't have any access to the. In fact, it was the day Scotland drew England actually at the Euros. But yeah, I watched it on Twitter, and that this guy's just losing their nut. But as I say, when the guy came up with that picture, just saying like Burnett and blazing across the fucking waist, the waistband of his trunks, was just like, how the fuck can you get it so wrong? Did he ever get sacked for that, or has he ever been seen again?
I just think he quietly disappeared off, and I don't think he judged again after that. Now,
fuck me.
See, I'm looking at the chat, Steve, and I'm not seeing anything come up. Someone said Mormek and Hay, but I said since the end of the Super 6, and that's been what, 4 or 5 years? 4.
Just to close off the Clark San Martino, sorry boys, I know everyone's desperate to know, but I've checked his box rec. He did never judge again after that.
Good.
That was for the best.
Mm-hmm.
Good.
I'm trying to think, man, because people remember Usyk Gassiev was pitted beforehand as a real 50-50. Like, I was at odds as who was going to win because Gassiev was such a big puncher. He'd looked devastating against Dortico. Was it Vladarchik when he landed the left hook, left uppercut combination? I was like, oh, yeah, he's the business. And then Usyk just absolutely dominated him. So that was a bit of a damp one, but I don't know, man.
That was the thing, because people were really expecting that to be a proper 50-50. Russians paid through the nose to get that fight in Moscow. Usyk went in the business, man. It was not uncomfortable. It was just so easy. You know, you're expecting it was like that moment against Canelo against Floyd. It looked like Gaziev mentally quit in that fight. But
he took Gaziev his soul, Andy. What's he done since?
I think he's had like 2 fights since then, mate. To be honest with you.
Yeah.
He's only like 25, 26 too.
I know, he's like never ages on Boxrec. Every time I look, I think he's been 27 for the last 5 years, I think.
Oh man, he's like a human boulder these days. See that neck? Fuck me.
Yeah, I don't know, man.
But I'm kind of curious if when everything clears up, and obviously when Opetaia recovers from his jaw, man, wouldn't it be interesting to see if they could make an Akoli fight happen?
Well, I said before the fight, I thought, which was a controversial opinion, Matty, that Akoli would beat Briedis. So I thought Akoli's a big unit, he can punch, he's awkward as hell, and Briedis is on the way out. So, I mean, if they were to make Opetaia against Akoli, be interesting. And Akoli called for it on Twitter, Matty, as well. He said, yeah, I want that as soon as he's recovered, which could be a long time, as Andy said.
Yeah, no, with that jaw, he's probably going to be wired shut for at least 6-8 weeks, wouldn't you think?
Oh, God, he'd be...
That's the thing, Tete. He's going to lose mass. He's going to lose weight. He's going to have to build all that back up as well.
He should tweet out what his favorite liquefied foods are through this whole ordeal.
Talking of mass, why wasn't Father Dave on the undercard, man? They missed a trick there, didn't they?
He's a priest, you know, mate.
It's total bullshit. Hey, you got a treasure like Father Dave in Australia, and you don't even utilize him. It's just terrible. He could be the Paul Hogan of this decade, but they won't make it happen.
It could be the Hulk Hogan, but anyway, talking of undercards, I was waiting for the main event to start. It was like a Frank in the afternoon kind of show for me. I saw the back end of Faris Chevalier against Connor Wallace. I think Connor Wallace is from Ireland originally. And then that absolutely brutal knockout, Isaac Hartman Andy, against Bo Hartas. You could tell Hartas coming to the ring. He had a bit of a sort of mechanic from the hillbilly mechanic kind of look about him. He was called the Mama's boy. Beforehand, the referee brought them together and said, touch gloves. And as they touched gloves, Isaac Hartman said something to Bo, whatever his name is, I've forgotten his name already. He said, we'll have a couple of beers afterwards. And then the commentator goes, they're going to have a couple of bevies after the fight. These are good friends all week. And I thought, oh, God, here we go. It's going to be a 10-rounder. They're going to wander around like a sparring session. And then Hardman legitimately nearly killed the guy. I tell you what, if you see a better knockout than that all year.
It's definitely one of the knockouts of the year. Like, you're going to go for a beer. You're going to go for a couple of bevies. You're going to go to the hospital for some oxygen, mate. That's
you heard it land. It just went,
Jesus. But the thing is, it was lights out instantly. Instant. All he needed to go and do was he didn't even move since he hit the floor. Didn't even roll over. Didn't he go to his side? Didn't he fucking? He just literally lay where he dropped. Just didn't even move. Iced. Instant. Fucking incredible right hand, mate. Absolutely brutal. I don't know what else. Obviously, it was only a first round, so there's not much we can actually say about it. But as Eddie Herman said, I thought he was up at 8, mate. To be honest with you, but who knows? Fucking 88. Jesus Christ, man, that was horrific.
Did you catch it at all, Matty? Hartman, he'd been on a bit of a run, former MMA fighter. The boys in the commentary were saying Jeff Fenech and the other, I think it was actually Ben Damon who was on it. And he'd come over to boxing, lost to Zarafa, but this was his kind of comeback fight. I looked at Hartas's record. It wasn't that impressive. He'd beaten a couple of lower level guys, lost when he'd stepped up, had a no contest in the last one, hit someone so hard once that he was seeing double vision, but it was him who was receiving double vision. It was sad, actually, because with the mama's boy thing, he had his mother in the corner. She was there all worried about him. And that punch, man, I just can't get over it. Just the sound of it. And I was genuinely worried for the poor fella.
You know, I've only seen him for a little over half a round, Steve. But from what I've seen of him, he's got a good right hand. He throws it in a variety of ways, and he also throws a very short, kind of over the top right hand, which can knock an opponent out cold. So if I was fighting him, I would recommend to move to your own right. And that's all I can say, other than this is a knockout of the year contender.
I'm watching this thing. I'm watching it now, right? So he goes to throw a jab. It's not even a jab. It's like he's got his hands up, right? He brings the left hand out as like a jabbing formation, but he kind of swipes it down the way like a chopping shot. Goes to throw the right hand, and obviously his left hand's down. He's left his fucking right side of his face totally exposed to that right hand and got switched off. Literally switched off. Fucking incredible shot. Just watching it again now. Fucking hell. Boom.
Yeah, if you haven't seen it in the chat, fish it out, man. It's worth a watch.
Oh, mate, he hits that deck there. Honestly, his legs are stiff. Body doesn't move. The referee's like literally like waving it off. It reminds me like a wee bit like the night Harrison switched off fucking Michael Sprott. No, Williams. There was I can't forget who the referee was, but he's instantly that fight's off, mate. You're fucking done. Hopefully the guy's all right, to be honest with you. Fucking hell.
I think he is. They got him on the oxygen and all, and he seemed to be okay afterwards. But I'm going to give a shout out here to James Bernard, or James Bernard, as he might want to be known as. He messaged me beforehand. He's a Patreon subscriber. He's been listening to the pod for years. I haven't heard from him in a while, but he messaged me during the week and he said, James here down in Oz, just caught up on your preview of Opetaia versus Briedis. He's heavily involved in the amateurs, blah, blah, blah. He said, Opetaia, junior light heavy world champion, bronze at the Youth Worlds, and an Olympian at 16. I know the pro scene down here stinks, but I think Jaya has a genuine chance on ability alone. He then talked about his promoters, Tasman Fighters, will be losing a fortune on having this down here, a gamble that only pays off if you have supreme confidence. He then said, this kid is more than an average Aussie hype job. Massive task ahead, Andy. But James said, I really think he's up to it. So fair play, James. I was
going to add, I don't know if this is like US or Euros or whatever, but apparently Briedis got paid $1 million for that fight. Wow. So again, I don't know if it's dollars, euros, whatever it is, mate, but that's a hell of a lot of money for Australian boxing, to be honest with you. And that's a kid who, I don't think that was that pay-per-view in Oz? I wouldn't think so.
I'm not sure. I didn't see pay-per-view on the screen or anything. It was on ESPN in America, wasn't it?
Yeah, it's a big gamble. It was a gamble, and it's paid off, but it's come at a cost as well, so just need to wait to see. But I would imagine, they'll be trying to get that money made back, so they'll be having a few easy-ish defences, I would imagine. But he's the man now, isn't he? So I don't think we could be saying that easy defences are going to be acceptable, to be fair.
Well, Opetaia wasn't that big of an underdog, interestingly, Steve. When I finally saw some numbers come out on the apps I use Thursday-ish, he was 2-1, and apparently that line had started wider in places it was available before and snuck its way down. But he was only paying 2-1 money on that, so the odds makers were definitely just seeing that he was better than just a live dog. He was actually running pretty close.
Yeah, hopefully Opetaia recovers. We see him in action again future, and Tasman can recoup the money they've invested in him. They believed in him, and he certainly delivered on the night. Just to remind everybody, you're listening to episode 481, Boxing Asylum Nuthouse podcast. Steve's here in the hot seat. That's me. Matty's here and Andy's here as well. I mentioned the Patreon. Let's give a shout out to a few of the boys who've joined up this week, just before I forget. They're now in the Boxing Nutters Messenger group. Andrew Neal is with us. So is Jason Walker. And shout out to Davyman100, who's enjoying his time so much. He increased his pledge during the week. Andy, you've pledged to let us know what was going on down in Mexico during the weekend. I believe you watched a show. Was it minimum weight action you were saying there?
Yeah, that Rene Quarto, IBF champ, lost his title to Daniel Valerdes. I don't know if you caught it, Matt. It was ESPN2 Vivo, I think it was.
I did not catch it.
You know, catch it. Pretty rough fight, to be fair. Quarto's kind of like leading with the head sometimes, quite competitive in the inside by both guys. As I said, Quarto using the head a couple of times. He ultimately got deducted a point. I think it was about the 10th. And there was a lot of stoppages in between, you know, because obviously the blood was I think Valerdes was cut on the scalp and above the eye, so he had to get that kind of wiped down a few times. The doctor was called a few times to see if it was okay to continue. It just got a bit scrappy, but as I said, there was moments where it was savage action on the inside. But I thought Valerdes was more than a worthy winner. Split decision, I think it was. Somebody thought it was clever to give Quarto a 114-113 card. I had it wide for Valerdes. No reason I watched it was because it tied in with, you got Eric Rosso. I think he's fighting in a couple of weeks' time. He's the BA champion at minimum weight. And of course, as well, because these were some names I'd been looking towards for Jesse Rodriguez as well, because obviously Jesse Rodriguez was campaigning around about light flyweight, and these may have been opponents for him when they stepped up. But obviously Jesse Rodriguez is just like fucking stratosphere stuff in the last year or so. So just worth kind of keeping an eye out for these wee guys, and especially at the kind of championship end.
Andy, just sticking with the niche kind of thing, just looking ahead to next week's action, pretty tasty card over in Russia on Saturday evening. We got the German Titov is promoting apparently RCC Boxing Promotions. We've seen a bit of them in the past. You've got Evgeny Tishenko. He's on the card. He's had his one loss. You've got Pavel Silyagin, who's looking quite interesting, super middleweight. But more importantly, the main event, Magomed Kabanov saw him fight against Liam Smith, obviously, and against Patrick Teixeira, who lost his title, I believe, to Brian Castano. So they both have kind of form. One guy on the way up, one on the way down. Kabanov's a bit of a grinder. He's undefeated. Teixeira is a bit limited technically, but he can definitely punch. Don't know why it's a 10-rounder, but this could be worth fishing out, actually. It might be a decent scrap.
Yeah, I don't know if it will appear on YouTube, to be honest, mate. I'll keep an eye out for it. But you're right. That big Tishchenko, I think he's stiff as a board, to be honest, mate. I don't rate him whatsoever. I know he don't beat Kudryashov in his last fight, who's like completely
points.
I think he's up an eye. Big Pavel Silyagin, he's a good one for anybody. I think he's getting kind of fast tracked up on the edge, very, very long range super middleweight. I would expect him to win. Well, definitely easily on points, but Kurbanov, yeah, I would say this is an interesting fight. Teixeira they don't get disqualified in his last one, could get a bit ugly, but I think it's all set up for Kurbanov, to be honest with you. Teixeira's basically kind of treading the water these days, isn't he? Obviously, he was ex-champion or whatever it was, and then he said it's just pulled up 2 defeats in a row here now. So, not to kind of describe him as an ex-belt holder as such, but he needs to win this fight. And it's a hard one actually to go to Russia at this point and try and get a win. So good luck to the guy, but I'll say Kurbanov probably wins it on points.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I think Kurbanov on points as well. I'm going to try and find that one if I can. I think it'd be an interesting enough fight. Talking of interesting fights, Matty, stateside, we're going next Saturday evening before we go on to our questions over in Texas, the Alamo Dome. Maybe Gabe will be there. Who knows if he's still going. Tom Brown, USA Showtime. I think I read somewhere that it's not on BoxRec, but Rancis Barthelemy fighting on the undercard against somebody. I mean, that's definitely worth tuning in for.
Fucking Rancis Barthelemy.
Remember the opponent? Can't remember the opponent now. Someone mentioned that during the week. But anyway,
I thought that there was something on the schedule with him on it, but I think it was either scratched entirely or moved to a different card because I didn't see it anymore.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, we might not get to see Rancid Barthelemy.
Praise be to Allah.
Praise be. Barthelemy not there. But anyway, we're going to the main event, Matty. We've got Mark Magsayo, 24-0, going in against Ray Vargas, WBC featherweight title on the line. Magsayo, of course, upset Gary Russell Jr. for that title last time out. Vargas has had a strange career, hasn't he? I mean, he's never the most exciting even in his prime. He was plodding along, making these defences, had a couple of years out. Obviously, we had COVID and all that. He broke the ankle at some point as well. I think it was after the Kameda fight. He's only fought Baez since, and he's back into world title action. He's effective at what he does, but I think he's a bit boring. I hope Magsayo beats Vargas, takes his record, and sends him off into Bolivia. And Matty, what do you think?
here's the tough thing, Steve, and I'm not going to give a prediction because this is our prediction league, so I'm going to lean on you after I give my little spiel here. But I don't enjoy watching Ray Vargas fight that much. Thank God he's been inactive recently. He's in a few fun fights here and there, but he's always seemed kind of less than the sum of his parts while still being a champion. I don't know how that works, but it does. He hasn't had a stoppage in about a half a dozen years at this point. Magsayo is a bit of a good puncher, but you have to remember that this is only Vargas' second fight at 126. But this guy's 5'10". He's a lanky guy. He's got a good reach advantage over Magsayo too. And I feel like Mark Magsayo barely snuck one over a one-armed Gary Russell Jr., who was definitely not in a good mental state, and you can see where that's all devolved to with the family over the last month here. God love him. So I just have to think, as much as I don't like Ray Vargas, and Magsayo has an exceptional victory on his resume. It's tough to go that way. I don't know. Where are you leaning, Steve? Because you're in the lead still, man. Yeah, you had 0 points this last week, though. Everybody had 0 points except for who?
You.
Me. Yeah. So I'm sneaking back up, Steve. I'm only 11 behind now.
You're toast, but yeah, maybe someone else can catch me. I'll tell you what, I'm desperately trying to get off this top spot in this league and Joe Kennedy's prediction league. I think Ted Barrett's tied me in that one, but I just can't get off that top spot. The target, it's the crown is laying heavy over my head. But one thing I was going to ask you quickly, Matty, before I make my prediction, is when's this whole thing ending? I don't mean that in a mean way. People were saying in the Boxing Nutters group, they were asking the question, what are we looking here, seasons, or it's not going to go to the end of the year, is it? Sure.
This is it to the end of the year.
Fuck's sake. Till the end of 2022.
Yeah. Who had the best predictions of 2022?
I suppose if you're going over the whole stretch there, stretching it out like Devon Alexander, then you've got the best sample size then, really, Matty.
Yeah, the goal here is, Steve, it's to find out who the long stretch runners are. And we already know how mentally frazzled Andy and Rob are at this point in time. So it'll be interesting to see how they can hold together down the stretch.
Right, okay. So
that's when I come into my own, mate. Championship rounds. Championship mentality.
I'm feeling the pace, Andy, man. You're going to have to take over here.
I'm going to give you the good eyes, Steve.
We're in the last half, though, Steve. We're in the last half right now. We're on the stool after round 6 right now.
This is where my stamina comes into it.
I need Panama Lewis or something in the corner, man, to give me a shot or something to keep me going. I think, because I'm struggling at the moment. But anyway, back to this fight. Yeah, I'm going for Magsayo on points. I actually agree with what you're saying, Matty. I think the Russell fight possibly flatters him because of the condition mentally and physically that Gary Russell was in. And also, beforehand, Magsayo was having a bit of trouble with Julio Ceja. I think he even got dropped by him and his power bailed him out. I don't think that power will bail him out against Vargas, but for all of me slagging Vargas, as you say, Matty, he's very effective, very tall and rangy. He can bang a little bit as well. I think Magsayo is going to toil. It's going to be very close on the cards, but I'm going to go for Magsayo, the champion, retaining his title on points, maybe even a split decision or majority or something, but Magsayo on points for me, Matty.
All right. Yeah. And Rob's not here, Andy, so you're next up. You're ahead of me by 3 points now, man. Sneaking up on you. You're at 48.
To be honest, it's an interesting one for me because Magsayo got for doing what he did anyway against Russell, he still got a lot of shit, and so I think he's still got a lot to prove to a lot of people. And obviously, you mentioned about Vargas. This is only his second fight at the weight. It could have been Vargas fighting Gary Russell, for what I can recall as well, because was Vargas not the number one challenger for the title
for ages?
Yeah, and then he wanted a tune-up fight, for that weight, and then Magsayo steps in, gets the opportunity, and takes it. I think personally it could be the ideal fight for Magsayo. I mean, he is, Russell Vargas isn't a mover like Russell, obviously, and then again, Russell obviously we know mentally and physically what he was going through at that point. At this point, but I just think this could be something different. He couldn't cut off the ring against Russell. So I always say when he's got like one hand. But I think Vargas has got a decent dig on him. I think we'll just need to see how it goes. He's got good athletic ability, good power and combinations with Magsayo. He can set his feet against a stationary guy. I think he could stand there all night and fucking have it out with you, to be honest with you. So I'm going to say Magsayo on points as well. Close, but possibly contentious. You know, in the day, Vargas has been in with some decent, solid contenders in that as well. Even at one was at one. What weight was that? 118. I think it was at bantamweight. I think it was Ronnie Rios, for example. Tomoki Kameda. These are quite solid guys. Maybe no, well, in terms of that Rios at least, maybe just no on that complete world level as such. But yeah, I think Magsayo's physicality might show something in this fight. I think he might put Rios under a wee bit of steady pressure. But as you say, Mike, this guy's massive for the weight. 5'10", stupid reach. But yeah, I'm going to say Magsayo points. Contentious, split decision.
I think you guys are right about the split decision aspect. I think it's going to be a close fight. I don't think Vargas is the puncher needed to take out Magsayo. But I think, considering his height and reach advantage and the fact that a lot of what Magsayo does are wider shots, I think he's going to find himself falling short early in the fight. And it's going to be a matter of how many rounds Vargas can pile up early against what Magsayo might be able to put on him late. So I'm on the opposite side of you guys. I think I'm going with Vargas on points. I see that split decision, but I see two of the cards going to Vargas.
I wouldn't be surprised to see that, Matty, to be honest. I think it's going to be a close fight.
Yeah, I do. I think this fight might suck, like as far as watching it goes.
Yeah.
But I think as far as a style matchup, it's compelling. It's just a very close fight. It's a good pick'em fight. So this works even if the results aren't going to be aesthetically pleasing.
Interestingly enough, snooker legend Ray Reardon says Vargas will beat him easily. So Ray giving him the seal of approval there, Matt.
There we go. Oh, he's even going. Ooh, late
KO, yeah.
Oh, wow. We'll see. I'm not going to go that bold, but I do think as much as I don't like Vargas, I just think he will. I just think he will. And I'm confident in that because I have no emotional connection to him. It's just the style shapes that way in my eyes.
No outcome would surprise me, actually, which is a bit of a hedger, but I'm trying to think of it. I wouldn't be surprised if Vargas stopped him. I wouldn't be surprised if Magsayo stopped Vargas.
I had a quick look on Twitter there, and I think it's quite evenly split. I think a lot of people are expecting this to go either way on the cards, either Vargas or Magsayo. Seen a few here, 7-5 Vargas, 7-5 Magsayo. So there's quite a few of them kind of split. This is what you want. You want a 50-50 fight. You don't want to go into these fights not knowing the fucking champion's going to have an easy defense in that end of the day, So
yeah, exactly. It's not a badly matched up fight. So we'll give the PBC a pat on the back for this one. I think. Exactly, praise be to well. I'm going to park Chisora for the time being and throw in a few questions. Before I do so, Matty, do you want to give us a heads up on what the predictions are, just in case I'm stealing your flow here a little bit?
The next one, the only other one we're going to have is Pulev versus Chisora.
Oh, right, that's fine. We'll park that for the time being and go on to a few questions. We need to get everyone pumped up on the steroids before we get stuck into that one. Andy, first question for you came from Tom Halton over on Patreon. That's Showbiz Tom. He says it gets mentioned a lot about the Canelo sweepstakes, as in no fighters highly ranked around super middleweight fight each other, bit like the heavyweights, as we were mentioning earlier, as I interject with Joyce and that, waiting for the big names, says Tom. When did this first start? Was it the Floyd era, or did it happen in years gone by? This actually flew off the back of us talking about Lyle Foreman last week, Andy. Mm-hmm. Well, is this something that's happening recently, or has this always been a problem in boxing? It seems lately like it's happening more and more, I think.
Yeah, it seems to be kind of more modern phenomenon, I think, because obviously back in like the 70s, for example, you only had 2 belts. If you go back even further, you only had 8 divisions. Mm-hmm. So guys had to fight each other to get themselves back into position, These days, there's just so many different options. You don't even need to fight for a belt. You just want to fight for a payday most of these days. Now, look what Eddie did with Dillian White, for example. Had all those eliminator opportunities and knocked them all back just to go and get the pay-per-view cash. What was the division he mentioned? 168?
Yeah, 168. I think he's thinking of the Canelo sweepstakes. You got Benavidez, you got Charlo, you got Plant, and they weren't fighting each other, were they?
Yeah, but obviously as well, I mean, I'm just trying to get any other divisions. Maybe got fighters who are not going to be fighting any of the top end guys. But yeah, look, it's just they're all wanting that payday. If you're like 160 to 175, they're all kind of like hanging about. The Benavidez one's the one that really pisses me off. The guy clearly can fight and he just seems to be kind of like drifting along from time to time. Just waiting for that that payday. Just trying, Golovkin now kind of coming in here to take the opportunity. Bivol took his chance. You want to see Berterbev against Bivol Hartman next. Are we going to get it? This is the thing. But in terms of phenomenon, I think it's something that's more kind of cropped into your game, or into boxing, in the last 10, 15 years. It's becoming quite common, actually, that, we're going to do a different path. We're not ready for that fight yet. We want to build ourselves into an eliminator opportunity, that type of thing. Boxing's all about timing, getting the fighter at the right time. What I liked about yesterday was the fact is that the Aussies backed their man to do the fucking business. It cost them physically, but he got the job done. That's what I like to see. Guys taking that risk, taking that opportunity. Guys like Cunningham against Tete there last night as well. He took a risk, came up short, but fucking who cares, man? He took a risk. He took a chance. Say he won. Fucking. You don't win a raffle if you didn't buy a ticket, really. So just take the chance, take the risk. But these guys, if they want, the Canelo fight each other and get in a position. That's the only way you're going to get it. But at 168, at least, I think it's another division again. It's becoming quite thin. Look at Cruiserweight when we're chatting about Briedis and that there as well. That's thinning out as well, because obviously Mikey was asking about the last great fights we've seen at Cruiserweight in the last few years. Super middleweight is the same. I mean, you got Rocky Fielding up at number 6. John Ryder's needing a fight as well. He's still ranked number 5.
Middleweight's really thinned out, I think.
Exactly.
Another one that's been locked down by the Canelo sweepstakes.
Yep, and now in the PBC. We're talking about Pavel Selyanyan, who's fighting in Russia next week. He's ranked number 1 with WBC. Is he even going to get allowed to travel to fight for these fucking titles? Who knows?
Depends. If he bought it money with him, they'd be allowed to travel in a heartbeat. But if you're a nobody, then all of a sudden the virtue signalling comes into play.
Yep. Exactly, mate. Exactly. And how do you see? Berlanga again looked awful in his last couple of fights, mate. Awful. You got Diane Jacobs still raking up the top 10. Chudinov still kicking about in that 168. The one that I can maybe pick out at 68 that's maybe a wee bit of beacon of light is maybe that Osles Iglesias. Maybe I mentioned the Cuban based out of Germany.
Yes.
Maybe him. But it's slim pickings there. Like it really is. Canelo could easily sit on those belts for as long as he wants. You got Morel kicking around there as well. We just need to see him getting tested, getting fights and that. But yeah, look, mate, it's all, to me at least, guys need to be fighting for your position. It's a bit like Ryan Garcia, calling out like Lomachenko and Lopez and fucking you call him Haney, but he doesn't fight anybody. He seems to think because he's got a bit of drawing power that's enough. That he should be getting the fucking call above, ex-opponent, for example. Get in the fucking ring and fight. This is where you earn your fucking corner. This is how you get your opportunities. You try to tell me that Ryan Garcia deserves a world title opportunity over the likes of Isaac Cruz, for example. No chance.
Isaac Cruz took a gamble. He fought Gervonta Davis, and his stock rose exponentially off the back of that. He might even get a rematch.
Even off an L. And fucking Davis hurt his hand fighting him, that guy. So as I'm saying, nobody can tell me that Isaac Cruz took the opportunity, lost a fight, big deal, but he's still highly ranked. But you get these entitled cunts coming in here wanting title fights because they're fucking think they're a bit of name, a bit of presence. It shouldn't work like that. You should be fucking fighting the best contenders you can get your hands on, and that's how you get your opportunities. That's just how I feel a wee bit kind of sorry for Joyce and that as well, because he was looking for that Parker fight was really, really interesting for me. 1 and 2 in the division, or with the WBO, sorry. And it's just fucking fell apart for whatever reason. Money, contracts, whatever it is. Frank will pull the emails out and show us shortly. But yeah, mate, look, just need to get in the ring and fight. That's all I need to do. That's just how you get your opportunities. Or at least that's how it should be, at least. Maybe it's too simplistic.
Absolutely. Yep, that's always the way it's been. The Dr. FMG threw in a question about Joe Ward. We'll keep that one for rapping Rob Kelly if and when he turns up. Also, Mikey Garcia retired this week, or last week, whenever it was. He's retired all the same. I'm going to have a little bit of a quick discussion about Garcia before we go on to Chisora Pulev. So get your pens sharpened in anticipation of the big-headed one being lauded on this podcast. Before we do that, Matty, we've had another question come in from friend of the pod, Danny Young. He said, it's been discussed before, but with the Paul versus Fury shambles And now this KSI pay-per-view event that's on DAZN, by the way, against someone called Alex Wasabi. Anyway, how much is this so-called celebrity boxing damaging the sport? And are we all waiting for a death in one of those before they get stopped and lose the mainstream attention they all currently seem to have, Matthew?
Yeah, I'm a little bit torn on this because sometimes they like if you look at some of the celebrity boxers, they end up putting actual boxers on these undercards and get them pretty reasonable paydays for people that might not otherwise get them. So I mean that's an interesting spin on it. Like Jake Paul did as much as anybody to make the Katie Taylor Amanda Serrano fight happen, and everybody made out well on that. So there are those positives, and I get the danger that people talk about when it comes to this, but other than a select few, most of these people can't fight. So it's not that dangerous because they suck, and they're fighting other people who suck. You know, fucking, if you want to pay to watch them slap each other around, go for it. You know, fuck, people are, so who cares? It's not dangerous if you suck.
Well, talking of sucking, in one of the biggest profile fights, which Danny references here, is actually Jake Paul against Tommy Fury. And I actually take issue slightly with a bit of a well-strung narrative that seems to go along with this fight. We seem to hear all the time that Tommy Fury should definitely win the fight because at least he's quote-unquote a real boxer. But I kind of take issue with that. Number one, if you think Tommy Fury is a real boxer, then you've obviously clearly never seen him fight. And what makes him any more of a real boxer than Jake Paul? Like I say, I can't believe me in defending Jake Paul, but at least he's in the gym. At least he's dedicated a certain amount of time to improving his craft. At least he delivers sort of highlight reel knockouts. He gets rid of people. What makes Fury any more of a boxer? Because he's got a British level license. I'm sure Paul must have a license as well. But, you know, you see the point that I'm making. Just because he's beaten a few Polish or Latvian journeymen, I don't see the disparity in class that a lot of people are chalking up to this fight just because Fury is, as I said, quote-unquote, a real boxer. I think that he'll probably lose the fight, to be honest. Am I defending Paul too much or being too harsh on Fury, Matty?
No, I think what's funny is that, you know, you actually have to say that Jake Paul has some small accomplishments in boxing and that most of what Fury has accomplished are due to his name. So yeah, I generally agree with you, but sad to say, I have heard that it looks like Fury is pulling out again.
Yeah, we've got that in Bellew the week actually, so we'll save. Yeah, we'll shelve that one for later on. But anyway, thanks for that question, Danny Young. He's always good for a good question or two. Is Danny? Jamie threw in a question as well. We'll shelve that for the time being. Maybe it'll do for one of the quieter weeks when we can expand on it. Talking of expanding, this guy has been expanding his horizons for the last so many years and expanding his waistline as well. Mikey Garcia. I got the chance to interview him about 4 or 5 years ago. He's a nice, personable guy. Never seen too interested in the sport, but he had the talent to make a lot of money. I'm sure he's done very well for himself. Andy, Mikey Garcia, I have his box record in front of me. He turned pro way back in 2006. Seems a lifetime ago now, and he fought as recently as 2021 against Sandor Martin. What's Garcia's best win, do you think, Andy? Rather than a single win, I always think he's had more of an accumulative career.
Yeah, because obviously there was that time when he was. I remember having a chat with Donny actually for years. I'm going back, must be 10 years now actually. See, when he was at featherweight, around about the time Salido and Barros and that type of Mama Lopez and that,
Yes.
they were talking about him being the heir to the Pacquiao throne at that point, especially in the kind of top rank sense as like their flagship fighter. Then he's been MIA due to the contract situation for 2 and a bit 3 years. There's a lot of Cannon knockout always kind of like sticks in my mind. The size difference in those guys, you know, it's like Cannon was meant to be a career 135. And that was Mikey got up for like 126 as well.
Yeah.
He looked like he massive compared
I was
to
at that fight, man. That was a brutal knockout.
I don't think he was ever the same fighter again, actually, after that. He obviously beat Broner, which to me, if I can recall that fight, it was quite repetitive. You know, just that's a lot of things with Garcia. Keeps it safe, keeps it boxing.
Yeah.
What's his best win?
Salido.
Well, I was going to see. I bet that kind of sticks in my craw a bit, mate. I'm sure the Garcia got a broken nose in that fight and looked to kind of like bail and go pick the decision.
Yeah, I think it was the nose was like clearly due to a headbutt, if I recall.
Yeah.
But I mean, you could definitely argue they looked for a way out.
He was definitely dying in the
Well,
weight of that fight.
what I would say about that, boys, is he'd knocked Salido down a few times. Now, he was flagging a bit, and Salido was coming on, and the broken nose wasn't helping matters. But I like to judge a fighter across a period of time. And to be fair to Garcia, he never really showed that again. Even against like Errol Spence, he was getting beaten from pillar to post in the final few rounds of the fight, and he never looked for a way out. So aside from the Salido fight, he never looked for a way out in a fight. So I would maybe give him the benefit of the doubt for that.
Maybe the pain was just totally different. Maybe couldn't see. Maybe his eyes were getting to swell because as a broken nose at the end of the day. It was a bad one. And I remember as well, I can't remember if it was that fight or the fight after. There was an issue with the weight. He missed weight at a fight, or he was really struggling with it. I can remember seeing I can't remember if it was ESPN or Top Rank. They used to do a kind of 2 days episode type thing, and it was covering Garcia. I remember they did one on Crawford trying to make weight, and it was fucking horrendous the shit he was going through trying to make it. They covered up with towels and bed sheets, put the air conditioner or the heating up in the room up as high as you could go, and left him lying there for like an hour just to kind of let him sweat out the excess poundage. It was the same with Garcia in the latter half of that 126 reign, or I think it was 126 reign. I'm gonna go and say that maybe it was the Lipinets win. Somewhere around about Lipinets Easter fights, possibly were his best wins, possibly. If you're talking like a guy of the, a lot as we would be talking about, I would probably need to go with either Salido or Lopez.
Matty, I'll be a box fit wanker. I've got it up in front of me. Remillard was the breakout, I think, on HBO, and then that win over Burgos was quite a solid one as well. Salido, Lopez was on the slide by that point. Roman Martinez is there. He had the big, massive break for a couple of years, came back, knocked out Elio Rojas. I was at that fight as well, actually. There's Latikanen one. Then you got names like Broner, Lipinets, Easter, Jesse Vargas, all solid names. That's why I was talking the accumulation is more of Garcia's legacy than the single standout names on his resume.
He's if he would have stayed at lightweight, I think he would have had a fantastic career. If he wouldn't have been away from the ring for like 2.5 years like he was, I think he would have had a fantastic career. Maybe he could have, obviously he could still beat people at 140, but I think at 135 pounds, he was really at the height of his powers. He wasn't having to struggle to make weight. He was still fast. He punched hard at that weight. So it's, Mikey Garcia, it's tough to say in this because he was such a good fighter, but he's kind of a case of his reach exceeding his grasp.
Shame the Lomachenko fight never happened, Matty. It really seemed like it was going to happen for a good year. It was back and forward, and it seemed nailed on for me, but just couldn't get it over the line.
Yeah, that was a shame, especially when you saw the way that Teo was able to really control Lomachenko with the jab, and Garcia had a hell of a sharp one. So I think you might have missed out on that one. Because talk about a career-defining victory, that would have been it.
I love Joey Nelson's comment in the chat there, Steve. About
the biggest W might be the millions that got out of Eddie Hearn.
The Sandor Martin fight, that was a W, even if it was an L.
Well, people were saying as well. People were saying, Andy, about, why would you want to go out on the Martin fight? But this is a guy from a talented family. At one point, he had the Pacquiao fight on the horizon. He was going to be the next big star for Top Rank, but he never really loved boxing. He was so talented, but he was just happy to sit it out, wasn't he, after the Top Rank dispute?
Yeah, that's the thing. But is he some sort of sheriff as well?
He's involved in the law. He's like a police, a copper or something.
Something along those lines. I don't know what it is. Like a local deputy. I don't know how the situation sets up over there. But
a rat, maybe, as Rick Glazer would say.
A rat, a tout. On the take, maybe. You never know. He's never fucking. No, but I know he's big into his cars and that does all that kind of off-road and stuff, sand dunes, sand buggies, that type of thing. So he's mad for all that. As you say, look, he could easily go into training if he wanted to stay in the sport, mate. If he doesn't want to take the punches and make the weight, for example, and that just he's made his money, go and do it with his brother. I think even Robert's got his own son, actually working in the corner with him these days as well. So
yes, he has.
Obviously, he's still got the old father. I think he's still kicking about as well.
I just thought of a good way to describe Mikey Garcia, Steve. He's a poor man's Nonito Donaire.
Yeah. I don't know. Not sure about that one, Matty. Expand.
He has a lot of the same ability with his timing, his combinations, his punches. He might not be as mobile as Nonito, but there's definitely some stylistic similarities there. The number of weight classes they went up and down. But when Nonito rose to the occasion more often than not, even though he has more losses, he also tried more than Mikey did, and he also had better late career success. He's when you rate him, you're rating a Mikey Garcia at least a tier below people like Nonito Donaire.
Yeah, it's a
So
good
you're saying he's not
comparison.
Hall of Famer then?
Well, the only thing I would say on that is it always seemed, this is just my perception, but Nonito Donaire, for all of his boxing skills, it was always that big left hand. It was sitting there like a ticking time bomb. In a Hitchcock film, it was like, oh, is he going to land that big banging left hand? Whereas Mikey was all about the fundamentals. He could grind you down, but he wasn't that big one-shot quitter like Donaire was, but he was more of a fundamentals man, like you mentioned Andy mentioned against Broner. He just took what Broner was doing, realised he wasn't active enough, and he just did everything to the absolute textbook, in and out, outboxed him all night. But for Donaire, as I said, Matty, it was always that he could explode at any time with that big left hook.
Oh, absolutely. Is the explosiveness factor is what separates people. And what pisses me off about like when people were so like up on Broner, since we're touching on him.
Who was?
All sorts of people, just
I
the
was.
boxing community.
I was a Broner truther, man. I took an L. Yeah, I was.
Okay, so but it's, when people should have realized that there was a ceiling on this guy, and that a lot of it was hype, was when he fought PDL, man. Ponce de Leon beat him, and he was a much smaller guy, and he did it with activity, getting in his chest, making it so that Broner wasn't able to tie up. There was a blueprint from PDL on. If you could manage to not get tagged by him on the way in at those lower weights, you could definitely make him a hard night's work. And then at the higher weights, when he wasn't as much of a puncher, it's really as simple as just being active. And a number of fighters have successfully done it, and the judges have not given them the credit on scorecards.
Yeah, that wasn't close
fair
for
enough, to be fair there.
Yeah, I'll read it out. Andy Des said here, by the way, for anybody who's listening in, Garcia is the perfect story. Multiple weight champion, earned loads of money, got everyone's respect, and did it all with his family. Glad to see he's got a plan for after boxing, and a good lad. Best wishes. That's a good summary.
That's the thing. He doesn't seem to have taken a lot of punishment through his career, at least.
No
saying he hasn't taken any, but at the same time, he seems lucid enough. He lives a good life. He's got a plan. You say he's probably still involved in that kind of law enforcement side of things. Probably got multiple investments. Got a nice house. Got all the cars that he wants. As I mentioned about what he does is for his hobbies, that type of thing. So that's what you want. If you can do it at fucking 35, supposed to like 65, when we're all going to have to retire and that, then fucking fair fucks to him.
Well said, Andy, and that's where we'll close it for Mikey Garcia. Congratulations, enjoy your retirement. He didn't go on for too long, which may or may not be related to our final segment before we go on to Belly of the Weeks. A Derek Chisora fight going in against Kubrat Pulev. 32-12 is Chisora now. Pulev's 29-2. It's going to be absolute carnage, Andy, according to Eduardo himself. Shout out to friend of the pod, Sam, who remembers the first fight. I was getting it mixed up with the Hellenius fight. I think I believe he was saying it was more like... It was like a glorified sparring session. Is this indeed going to be carnage, Andrew?
I don't know, mate. I'm kind of more interested in my dream off against Sorrow, in all honesty. But this, look, as I say, Del Boys, this is, if he loses this fight, this is going to like 4 on the spin now. If he loses this fight, I just don't know what to expect from him. I mean, he comes in sometimes, he's in great shape. He'll plod along till the gas tank kind of ceases, and he'll take his punishment as per usual. Get swollen up. I'd probably say Pulev wins the fight, mate. Is this on the prediction league, Matty?
It sure is, Andy. So you should make Steve go first.
Oh.
Doesn't matter. I'm going to say Pulev wins on points. But again, you just don't know what you're going to get, mate. I don't see it being carnage as such. These guys are almost, Pulev's in his 40s, isn't he? Chisora can't be far behind them. They must have racked up something like, 60, 70 pro fights between them. God knows how many knockouts between them. They've been knocked out themselves, badly cut. I don't know what else to add, mate. I really don't. I don't expect much for the fight. It might surprise us, who knows? But I'm going to say Pulev will keep on the jab, probably keep Del Boy bait at times. There'll be moments where he's got to make it messy and grapple and up against the ropes, and he's probably have to take his moments inside. But I still think Pulev would probably win it with fundamentals, just keeping Del at distance, jab, and then straight hand behind it. And as well, you just don't know if just with him being, I don't know who do you say is the more activist. So it's Del Boy. Has he got any advantage coming in this fight?
But the problem with Chisora is he might be more active, but that activity he has makes him more shop worn because the way he fights.
Well,
the activity is him getting punched in the head. That's the wrong kind of activity.
Exactly. Did he not get knocked down in his last fight as well?
Yeah, Parker put him down.
He was
three
going
times.
on fumes, wasn't he?
If you would have just stayed down, I would have won like hundreds of dollars. I remember it pissed me off.
Oh, Christ, mate. So there you go. I'm going to say Pulev on points. I'll say something close. Probably that one. I'll tell you what. If I'd be surprised if Pulev puts him down. Actually, but it just came to me actually that Parker had put him down. I just couldn't remember it. Yeah, I'll say Pulev points. Or something like around about 115, 113. It'll be close, I can imagine. But it's poor from Eddie, actually. This is a kind of main event. I don't know if there was anything else that was planned for this card, but this is awful, mate, to be honest with you. I mean, Pulev, as we mentioned, since the Chisora defeat, he's had one fight in 2 years, I think it is, 2 and a bit years. And as I say, Chisora's now coming into another headliner where he's lost 3 fights in the spin now. But he's possibly going to take a 4 file here. And his last one was David Price back in 2019. This is somehow headlining. It's just poor, mate. It's just poor.
Yeah, at the risk of being boring, Matty, I'm going for the same as Andy. I see the fight playing out as well. It all depends on Chisora's mentality and his motivation. If he comes out absolutely motivated, I think the first 5 or 6 rounds, he could give Pulev a lot of trouble. And I wouldn't even be surprised if he stopped Pulev. I know that sounds like a stupid thing to say, but he could wing one in over. And Pulev's no vision of activity himself. He laboured to that points win on the Triller card last time against Jerry Forrest. I think it was on Triller anyway. I watched it, but it was tedious. But
he landed some bombs in that fight, though. He landed some fucking bombs.
Exactly. Yeah, he did. He can still punch a bit. He's up on his toes. He showed against Joshua he can get the jab going, but that was some 2 or 3 years ago now. I think down the stretch, the fight will start to go away from Chisora, and as he winds down and powers down, Pulev will start to get the range, and provided his 41-year-old legs are still there, and he's able to move and get out of distance, I think he'll get messy. This fight's going to be ugly as it goes on. See the last 3 or 4 rounds, which is why Chisora could well, exactly, they'll both be gassed. Chisora could well get it on the cards because the last 3 or 4 rounds could well be, what do you like? And you all know what those British judges are going to be liking. You know for a fact what they'll be liking to be Chisora's work. They're going to be grappling. It's going to be messy. It's going to be mauling. It's going to be aids on the eyes for those last few rounds. But I think that Pulev's going to snatch it. It's going to be close. It could be a point in it. It could be a drawn card. I'll tell you what, they'll probably do a rematch. There's going to be a rematch.
Oh,
I'm calling it right now.
Here's the question, though, right? Because of like where the standing is now in the current heavyweight setup or landscape, whatever it is, who do you want to win? Really, what is best for the division?
Who fucking cares?
Exactly. Was it a double knockout?
Yeah, it doesn't matter for the division, and. Here, this is what I think the story is on the fight, Steve, is I think that down the stretch, I think that Pulev is going to find that straight right hand a lot in the later rounds. But the question is who piles up points early. And if Pulev can find the right uppercut in the fight, which is as Chisora has slowed down, his head movement has slowed down. He labors more and it's easier to time him in these later years. If Pulev can find that uppercut, I think you're talking a stoppage on this one. But if he doesn't find that uppercut, if he's just looking for the right hand, you're probably talking a points victory here. I just hesitate because you always you can't help but pull for Del Boy, right? You really can't. He's been through so many wars. He's every time you count him out, he finds a way to get one more done. He's recovered from a squirrel bite now.
That's
the
what
odds
MB said. He cuts easily now that we saw what the squirrel did.
So, the odds are against him so much. And we might, he just might end up throwing some egg on her face here. But I have trouble after just seeing the way that essentially that Parker beat the crap out of him. And if he had just any finishing mentality whatsoever, should have gotten the stoppage over Chisora. Pulev, a little meaner. And I think he's going to find that uppercut. So I'm going to actually go with Pulev on the stoppage on this one.
Oh, Matty's going Pulev stoppage. Is this where boxing's at? Des says this is where boxing is. It's been sliced too many ways. It's why Sky poached Parker. It's not that they want Parker. It's because they want to scupper BT doing Joyce versus Parker. These networks are struggling. Someone said it in the chat, Andy. I don't know who it was. This is just it feels like a standalone prize fight for me. Just a slugfest. Yeah. Doesn't have any bearing on the division. I mean, say Chisora wins, right? Even if he looks impressive, what are they going to do with him? What's the future for Chisora?
I don't know. I really don't know. I mean, I had a quick look there as you guys were talking. I don't even think the two of these guys are even ranked. Would they get a ranking off the back of it? I don't know.
No.
What age is Del Boy? He must be 40.
38. 38. And Pulev's 41.
What's he going? He's going to walk it back with Dillian White again, for fuck's sake. You say, mate, the rematch. It's just really, how popular is Del Boy down in the kind of London area? Does he sell a lot of tickets still at this point? That Eddie still finds a valuable commodity to put him on as a headliner?
They were chanting his name when he knocked out Spilker, I think it was, but then it was a pumped-up crowd. I think that was on an AJ undercard, so he is popular. But, I mean, I just don't want to be there when the inevitable happens, man. I mean, I actually am concerned about him.
He'll end up fighting in Latvia before you know it.
Yeah,
against Danny Williams in a rematch 20 years after the first one.
Fucking aye, they're still fighting 30 years after that. It's not going to end well, mate, if he keeps going like this, to be honest. Like, I mean, if Matty's right and he does get knocked out badly and that, I mean, what the fuck? You're going to keep pulling him back out? War.
Take aim, says Chisora Joyce. Let's go, man. What a sick bastard.
Exactly, mate. Fucking make Chisora against against Deontay Wilder and be done with it, for fuck's sake. Let Wilder get the body in his record.
Oh my God, can you imagine?
Can you imagine? Honestly, God, mate, a crucifixion. Horrendous.
Chisora versus Julius Francis. Tell you what, if Julius Francis landed that right hand on Joyce, the old legs could be shaking.
Hey, I have a question for you guys. God, and I don't even know what he's doing or who he's with anymore. But do you think if Don Charles was still in charge of Chisora's career, that he would be letting him go at this time?
Well, no, that's probably why he's not with him anymore.
Who knows? He went back for a wee brief spell, did they not?
I don't think Don liked what he was seeing, did he?
Yeah, I mean, I remember listening to an old music interview, actually. That's what he was saying. He says, when I was fighting Del Boy, he says, all you could hear from when he was just like, he kind of like marched from towards you, all you could hear was, war. Oh, I'm like, fucking hell, man. So he must be like talking to himself these days. He must be talking to the walls back in the house.
Do you remember our marathons with Don Charles?
Oh, 3 hours, mate.
Don Charles said that Bermain Stavern was the future of the heavyweight division. I remember sitting here and listening to him saying that.
We all get that wrong at some point, mate.
Yeah, I know. God, I've got a few on my
problem,
record.
I think that Stavern was actually a pretty damn good fighter, but he was so inactive in his prime, you would never know.
He was skillful. When he fought Areola, he could put his punches together. He was like Lawrence Claybay. He had skills.
Yeah, Don King just doesn't keep his fighters in the ring enough for us to have a clue how fucking good they are.
There you are, good old Don King. Just before we go over to Rob Kelly, Andy, anything on the undercard there? I'm just looking. Madrimov Sorrow's a rematch. I think the first one was a controversial stoppage. Felix Cass, I mean, Vaughan Alexander, man. That's Devon Alexander's brother. Yeah. Kevin Ajarko's in against the pole. Has a good record, probably shite. Fabio Wardley hasn't got an opponent. Ramla Ali, I'm not even going to go down that far. Madrimov Soros could be a good one.
Yeah, I just mentioned obviously that Felix Cash fight. I mean, I know Alexander had I don't know if we want to call it, or how good a win it was against Luis Arias, for example. I think he'd been up and coming at some point. But yeah, I think the fight that I'm kind of more looking forward to is Madrimov against Sorrow. I think Madrimov, I thought Matty would actually put this fight on the prediction thing, but there you go. As you mentioned, Steve, it was a controversial stoppage first fight. Soro, he was hurt. He was ready to kind of get taken out, but it was right at the end of the round, and the bell had went. And the referee never heard it. Well, Madrimov was kind of like, he must have caught about 5 or 6 punches on the guy, and basically the referee jumped in and stopped the fight. He didn't hear the bell, so the decision stood. Anyway, this is the rematch. I think Madrimov will win a late stoppage. I think he knows he can hurt Soro. He had him hurt a number of times in that first fight. So if he does it this time, he seems to be a wee bit more aggressive as well compared to some of the other ones. I was going to mention to you guys, maybe this isn't the week to mention it, but the Uzbeks have kind of like, went quiet as such. They kind of like their momentum. Jalalov's kind of momentum against like top tier opposition or opponents that he's facing. Madrimov seems to be the one that I kind of like. I've got a decent eye on, at least. I think I rate him quite highly. So I'm expecting him to win this and win it well. So I'm going to say he wins by knockout. But that's about the kind of more kind of thing I'm kind of like looking forward to in this fight is Madrimov against. So at this card is Madrimov against Soro. I'll watch Del Boy just for the banter, but everything else, mate, I'm not really too fussed about it, to be honest with you.
Matty, I was going to ask you for your rundown the undercard there, but I noticed Naked HD OMG fuck ads sex cheaper Tinder has appeared in the chat. I don't know what he, she, stroke they, them has to say about the undercard, but maybe they could, if they want to jump on, I suppose they might be able to help you out.
Do you know what I worry about, Steve?
What?
I worry that they may get more revenue from our listeners off of that momentary time that it pops.
Johnny Horsecock Nelson's already thrown a 79p over there.
There you go. So just remember, there's lots of pornography for free. Give us your money instead.
What about the undercard, Matty? Soro against Madrimov, or you're not interested?
Not as interested as I am in pornography, but that's no, just kidding. Madrimov is going to kick the shit out of Soro. Stoppage late. I don't know. After the whole Tony Yoka debacle, my already limited faith in the French went down and some more. So I'm not willing to get on that boat again. So Madrimov by late stoppage.
Matty's not getting on that boat again. Straight off the boat, here he is. Rapping Rob Kelly's in the house. Sunday evening, Rob. How are you getting on? You okay?
Yeah, I'm good. I'm good. Yeah, pretty good.
I was going to ask you about this weekend's boxing. I'm trying to remember what was actually on. Rob, did you see anything? What was it again? Oh, Joyce, yeah.
Well, no, listen, I saw a lot of things this weekend. I was at a concert. I was bringing the little one to a concert, wasn't I? Music festival in Ireland, and I was pretty down about it because I'm a pretty antisocial. I don't like public events. But it turned out to be one of the greatest days of my life, and not just because Megan Thee Stallion's arse was on a 200-foot screen in front of me. She spotted the sign my little one had made for her, didn't she? And invited her up on the stage and that. So she got up to fucking meet her idol and all that and got her poster signed. So her little face was fucking lit up. So that was good. That was a good moment.
So her face lit up like Joe Joyce taking them right hands, Rob.
Well, look, if it's a choice between Megan Thee Stallion and Joe Joyce, Joe might not have had a professional loss, but he's going to get an L every time there, like, isn't he?
As we said, Rob, I thought we were going to a gay pride march while you were dressed, mate.
But you see, you don't obviously not up on the colours with the LGBTQ colours, you know what I mean? I think there's missing out of that for a flag. Yeah. But I wasn't celebrating pride, I was just celebrating double wins. What was I going to say to you? No, I watched the Joe Joyce fight. Yeah, Joe, like, Hammer is a fucking terrible opponent, and anybody who's ranked number one for one of the sanctioning body titles at heavyweight should be disposing of the likes of Christian Hammer in under 4 rounds on the under where the bookie set the line. But I think for as much as you say about Joe Joyce, like, he's hittable, he ships a lot of shots. Top guys are going to be able to hit him, but are they going to be able to hurt him? And he's not a draw. I said before, it probably would have been in the best interest of the casual fan if Dubois had come out on top when Joyce and Dubois fought, but it's hard for the casual fan to get on board with Joe Joyce. Well, it's equally hard for the fucking hardcore fan to get on board with him because he's not a draw. He's not a personality. He's not particularly pleasing on the eye. He takes a long time to get warmed up. He's not exactly fucking a good trash talker or anything, but it's going to take someone good to beat him. Isn't it?
Rob, you're breaking up like crazy.
Oh, really? Sorry, I thought it was in a fucking.
There you go.
I'm
There
inside
you
tonight.
go.
I wouldn't have expected to break up tonight. I mean, I said that I was anyway. The point I was making is I think it's going to take a top heavyweight to beat Joe Joyce. As many things as he has going against him, as a personality and as a stylistic watch. I think he's a tough opponent to beat. He doesn't appear to be rocked or hurt at any stage, and he just walks fellas down and drowns them. So I would agree with Frank Warren that he's going to give AJ trouble if AJ comes out on top. Usyk, I could see Usyk outboxing him, but him versus Wilder is a fun fight. Him versus any of the top guys is a fun. Well, I wouldn't go as far as say fun fight, but it's an interesting fight in that it gives you something to weigh up. It's going to be like I think Fury possibly outboxes him. Usyk could outbox him, but him and Joshua's a close fight, and him and Wilder's probably a close fight. So let's see it. But he's going to hang on to his mandatory position now, isn't he? So we're likely to see him out against another Christian Hammer-esque type opponent before he gets a shot at the title.
Good stuff from Rob. He's on there with us. Matty's here as well. So is Andy. We're going to be going to Belly of the Week shortly. Before we do so, Andy, is there anything I'm missing? Anything for next week or for the upcoming weeks that you want to discuss that I could be missing out on here?
I don't think so, mate. I think it's quite quiet next couple of weeks, isn't it? I don't think there's even much coming for America, actually, as well.
No.
Even the UK, it's quite quiet. Obviously, we've got that card next week. The Vargas fight. I mentioned is it Ioka against Nietes. It's a couple of weeks' time during the week.
On a Tuesday, is it? I think.
Yeah, the 13th or I want to say the 13th or 14th of July, possibly. That's the kind of next kind of like suppose world title fight. I can't think of anything else at the top of my head at this point, mate.
There we go. Andy has spoken. Let's get on to Belly of the Weeks then, shall we? For episode 481. Matty, you're jumping in here.
This?
I would love to hear Rob's who Rob's taking in a couple of those fights coming up. Hey, Rob, who are you taking in Magsayo versus Vargas?
I'll take this fucking Ray Reardon if you don't fuck off in the chat. Who's he? He's calling me the Irish fucking. He's at it for a couple of weeks with me. This guy Ray Reardon, and I'm fucking call me cynical, but I find it hard to believe that it's not one of Jim McDonald's alter egos, because who the fuck else is logging in here on a Sunday night with all these fucking characters from the 8 that we haven't heard since the fucking 1980s? We got fucking Mavis off Coronation Street and fucking Russ Abbott and all in the chat, like along with Ray Reardon. Go fuck.
Where's Jackie Dicko?
Yeah, when you need her.
Jimmy Corkill. Sorry, Matty.
It's ridiculous. I think Mick Hammer deserves more respect than that.
Who are we saying? Who are the fights that we're asking me about?
So it's Magsayo versus Vargas and Pulev versus Chisora, and Steve took Magsayo points and Pulev on points.
Pulev and Chisora. I'm gonna say fuck me, man. I don't know. I think I don't agree with Chisora still fighting just off the evidence of his speech. But he is a hardy fucker. Like no, I'm gonna say Pulev KO late.
All right.
And what was the other one? Vargas. Go for Vargas on points in the other one.
Holy shit! You and I agree this week.
Fuck, that's me. That's me down the fucking league then.
Only one of us got points last week, Rob, and it wasn't
me.
You.
Oh, bollocks. Well, forget it. It's the fake league anyway. Well, no, that's Joe Kennedy's league. We're fucked this league anyway. The league is over. We're concentrating on the cup.
You're doing well in Joe Kennedy's league, Rob. I think you were coming in at 18th last time. Oh no, 19th. Sorry, 19th.
The league is upside down.
Well, there's 40 in it.
Are you saying you should be at 91st?
Yeah. It's the upside down, man. We're running up the hill.
He's running up that hill all the way to Bellew of the Weeks. Let's get on it then. Someone was asking earlier about Tony Bellew. We haven't gone in on Tony in a while, so maybe it's our chance here in episode 481 to rectify exactly that.
You and this boxing asylum, whatever you're called, right? You see, you must be the most bored man on planet Earth, because what you do is you sit and talk about what the fuck I do. Remember this, right? What you talk about, I do. I do it. You talk about it, I do it. So that gives me the right to say whatever I want about what I do. It doesn't give you the right because you don't do it. Now, if you show me a video of you doing it, and doing it at the level I do it at, then maybe you can have a say. But remember this, I fight, you watch. It's that simple. That's all it's about. I fight, you watch. No one gives a shit about what you say or what you do, but they give a shit about me because I fight. I don't watch. Simple as that. Your podcast isn't worth a carrot. I don't give a shit what you say, what you do. If you've got something to say to me, I'm not hard to find. I'm usually on the front row at boxing events. Come and say hello, or come and say to me what you'd say to me on your daft podcast. But remember this, I get more views with a fart than what you get with a 2-hour podcast. On that note,
every time. Love it. I love the way he goes, what's he saying to Sad? He was like, you must be the saddest man on the planet because you talk about what I do. No, mate, sorry. The saddest men on the planet are the ones who talk about us talking about what you do. They're really fucking sad, mate.
No.
Aim it at them.
The saddest man on the planet is his husband.
Usually front row at boxing events. I figured out Tony. He definitely is front row at boxing events. You can't get rid of the fella. He'll be there this weekend, Tony. We always like playing that one. Takes me back, Andy. Actually, somebody put up the infamous Scott Quigg Frampton weigh-in video. Do you remember Tommy? You, me, Tommy Senior. Someone tweeted it out, didn't they? During the week. Was that last week? Was it?
It was during the week, mate. Aye. Christ, how long ago was that?
Well, it's 7 years now. It's over 7 years. 2000 was it 15 or 16?
I tell you, that was a mission that day. I remember we were up at the airport at 5 in the morning. Fucking hell! Was the weigh-in was at 1, 2 in the afternoon? I think it was. The Irish managed to fix us up for it, no problem, And Big Tyson was there. I think Joe Gallagher was about a mid that day as well. I don't know what was wrong with him. Andy Lee, good chat with him. Good times, good laugh.
The comments are funny.
I felt like death during the fight though, mate. I was like hungover like you would not believe, man. Fucking, I always do it. First night off the leash, I just go fucking mental, So
it was a good laugh. Yeah, the comments under that IFL video are worth a watch. One day we'll have to go through them and I'll read them out to you. They are quite funny. But anyway, let's go on to Bellew of the Week. Thank you very much for that, Tony, for that introduction.
You don't want to be popping up on any more IFL videos. You won't be able to fly to the US. Fuck that.
Like Rick Reveal. I haven't seen Rick Reveal tonight, actually. I hope he's all right.
I think he's banned on Twitter again, mate, I noticed, I think.
Oh, is he? He's going to come back as Rick 257341. How many phones has he got? More phones than BT, him.
I don't know, mate. He must be using a VPN or some sort. Must be with a country in and setting it all up. So it must be away to Afghanistan now or something like that. He's creating a country.
Well, if the fucking allegations are true, he's using EncroChat.
Well, they've got all these conversations in, haven't they?
Oh, good old Rick.
Imagine the poor fucker tasked with going through his phone. Fucking hell. Hope you're not queasy, pal. First day on the job, is it like training day? Hope you're not queasy. Get this piece
straight into therapy sessions after the first day on the job. What the fuck?
There he is now. So he is. Look at Jim McDonald.
Holy shit. Look at that KO percentage, Joe, mate. That's what it's all about. 65%.
That's Jim there.
That's Jim McDonald, so it is.
Loving it, Matty. Niche cultural reference there. Good stuff.
Well, I follow the guy in the chat. I can put it together from there.
Shout out to Jim. Anyway, the first one here, Martin Hurry nominated this one alongside many other people. ESPN ringside, AJ was shocked when he lost to Usyk in their first fight. I swear I thought I was beating Alexander Usyk. I thought I was looking like Muhammad Ali in there. I didn't get any impression I was losing. That's why when they announced his name, I was kind of like, huh? Would he?
Fuck off, man.
See this pitch. He was literally in the corner, breathing through his arse, sitting down after that fight finished. Muhammad Ali would never have done that. He'd be dancing about the ring, fucking getting a big large if he won the fucking fight.
Oh, I don't know. It's fucking boring, man, isn't it? It's what's going on with this fucking set? Is it a value of the week where he's mentioned Freddie here like that? He's announced the fucking lifetime DAZN partnership with Joshua. Meanwhile, the Saudis own the rights to the fucking Usyk fight. What's going to be fucking? What are DAZN subscriptions going to look like if he gets beat again by Usyk and the Saudis have fucking had it on Sky? Oh my god!
That goes back to Dez's comment about Joe Parker going to Sky and that every fucker's scrambling to try and get a head fighter, eh? And they've got nothing. So what they're going to do is they're going to fucking split it all between them, right? You imagine Sky winning this fight. Can you imagine Eddie having to go back to fucking speak to Adam Smith? Ben Shalom getting involved. E Shalom.
Great guy. Sure, negotiations will be easy with Ben Shalom. Great guy.
Adam Hughes says Muhammad Ali post-death.
Oh, sorry. Maybe he's talking about the Berbick version of Ali, possibly.
He could have said the Olympic version of Ali, but not the one where he won the gold medal.
The one that won the torch. That one. Fucking hell. He certainly got staggered like that anyway in that last round.
A good old AJ. He might appear later on. He might not. Tommy Fury has revealed that he's been denied entry to the US for the Jake Paul press conference, putting their fight in major doubt. Sean says, why would a Homeland Security agent be at Heathrow? Why would you go to the airport without an ESTA? And why is he not using the visa he used to go with his bird last month? Flapped it big time. You know what? That's a good body of work from Sean there, isn't it? He's
solid internet sleuthery there. The big giveaway was when Big John said that we can't come to America, mate. So we'll have to fight you in England, Jake Paul. And then 2 days later, Tommy shows up with a camera crew to go and get turned away from a flight.
It's funny, Why is Tommy Fury the only one on that entire list, right? It's been photographed at an airport trying to get through passport control. Why is Tyson Fury and other people who've been mixing with MTK, etc., not getting spotted, taking photographs, getting sold to the papers?
See, here's the thing, right? You're not going to sell Tommy Fury as a fighter. I'm sorry, he was on the pod and everything before. We're big Tommy Fury supporters here at Boxing Asylum. We gave him a start practically before he went on Love Island. It was the biggest media outlet he's ever been on. But the fact that he's on Love Island and everything, and Molly May and his burden on it, they're worth so much money. He doesn't have to fight, so fucking just don't fight then. But don't be selling us this fucking wolf ticket that you're going to be the YouTuber and you're actually running from the YouTuber. Give me a fucking break, pal. Come on, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. If you're good enough to fucking be a champion, or you're good enough to be a professional pro boxer, you should be good enough to beat fucking Jake Paul, man. Do you know what I mean? So if you're not good enough to beat Jake Paul, just don't be a fighter. Go back on Love Island for another season, or do a reality show with Molly May, or do something else. Nobody will care, honestly. But just stop. I was even kind of partly disappointed that this fight is not going ahead, as I was looking forward to the circus that it brings. But don't worry, because the Zone's first pay-per-view fight in the UK is going to be KSI versus somebody. So you know what I mean?
Game change, baby.
Going to be no fights for you, Tommy Fury.
Maybe Tommy will have to stick to advertising the meat patches. You remember that, Rob? When he was, you don't have to eat a sausage again. You can just put a meat patch on your arm.
Meat patches. I hope it wasn't fucking boar meat. That could have been fucking sketchy.
Oh, good old Tommy. Oh, somebody's texting me. Who's that? Who cares? We'll find out later. Let's move on. Dan Frost, Usyk doesn't have a clue what he's on about here. I didn't get the video, unfortunately, but Ganesh says Big L for Frost here. What was he doing, Andy, man? When Usyk's hair isn't the stupidest thing in the video, what was he going on about the 80,000 to Usyk, man?
Yeah, but he said it twice. He's like, oh, excuse me, what? What's he saying? Frost is trying to get I think the mileage out of that saying is really done now, but that adds to our content at least. So I think there's still a wee bit of mileage left in it yet, Carol. Keep it coming.
It's good. It's kind of like the In-Betweeners. It was funny fucking 10 years ago, but we're over it now. If you saw it again now, you'd be like, no, that way.
A good old call. We've got here Spaceman. My nominee, that poster is great. Rubes, nobody in 2024. Eddie Hearn in 2024. War Chisora has 2 or 3 fights left.
Stephen Hawking. I think it's
you're a fucking bomb. You're a fucking asshole. I hope you fucking die.
I hope you fucking die.
see, the thing is, he's got this fucking grey beard or whatever it is, and the grey hair. No, the kind of gold colour, sorry, not grey. Fucking that kind of gold and bronze, whatever it is he's got. It makes him look like he's fucking 90. Looks like one of those kind of, like, you know, one of those kind of African village elders type people, you know? He needs a fucking robe round about him, man. He'd be quite the part.
I don't think he's be expelling any knowledge anytime soon, though, to be honest with you. Good old Chisora.
Gonna make it really tough to run from the squirrels.
Foot down. Pen for Pen Boxing Show, linked with Kel Buck. Buck retires. Linked with Amir Khan. Khan retires. Linked with Mikey Garcia. Mikey Garcia retires, ladies and gentlemen. Conor Ben.
He's retiring more fellas permanently than B-Hop, a prime B-Hop, but he doesn't fight any of them. It's fucking amazing. It's even better.
So, I think what we can take from this one, Rob and Steve and Matty, is I think Aidan Brunner might retire next by the looks of it.
He might do.
He's a solid candidate, Andy. He is a very solid candidate for retirement.
I see a picture of him get posted up there. I think it was at IG, I think it was, and he looked like the epiphany of how washed should look like. By the way,
right? You gotta think though, Andy. He's under pressure. He's probably a grandparent. He has that many kids. He's probably a granddad already.
With a great granddad for all weekend.
Yeah. With the end of Roe v. Wade, this guy's going to be fighting until at least 2040. Let's be honest.
I tell you, I would not be surprised if this fight does get made, Broner against Ben, for example. But honestly, fuck, I just can't wait for his
one
next
of the
fight,
most fucking exciting fights there is to make. Would that not be the most exciting fight Conor Ben's ever been in? If he was to fight Broner?
I don't know, mate. With Broner, you just don't know what you would get for Broner. I mean, the thing is, you get for Broner this day and age is, you know, he's got a chin, but
yeah,
he's
that's about it. He's got a chin, a belly, a fucking beard, everything. But I think that's an exciting fight.
And an overdraft.
How funny would it be if Adrian Broner's redemption came by knocking out fucking Conor Ben? Unbelievable, wouldn't it?
Oh, fucking hell, I'd be gutted, mate, if that was to happen.
You'd be on the AB train, Andy.
No, I'd want Ben to beat him, like, because I've said, you know, I can't stand Broner, mate. He's fucking. I hate talent getting wasted. I hate to see talent piss it all away. And I've seen a few boys do it. He's one of them. Fucking knew it for the day dot, man. He was full of shit. Fucking knew it, and everybody all fucking bought into it. But your Uncle Andy here said, "Nah, not buying it."
He's a fucking pant load. Always has been. Always will be.
Fucking hood rat, man.
Deanch says he's learning on the job, fellas. I don't know if he's talking about Conor Ben or Derek Chisora. Maybe Chisora's learning on the job. Oh man, brutal mente honesto. Here's one for you, Andy. A few people have tagged in waiting for your response. Who's this phone Jack 9? You guys didn't like the last question, so I got a better one. Roberto Duran versus Ryan Garcia at 135. Oh,
close one. It's a close one, I think.
Mate, I've got to look at my face. Looks like someone just farted, no claiming that. You know what the fuck? Yeah, we'll move on for that one. What people want me to say, really? I mean, you're talking about one of the greatest of all time against one of the greatest of all time bullshitters. So I'll leave it at that. As I say,
gotta give King Ryan his due, though. By the way, he clapped back with a bit of class at Canelo there, didn't he? Canelo said, when I was 20, I was world champion, and he was like, yeah, when he was 20, he was world champion, but he fought for a vacant title against Matthew Hatton.
And
hey, I'm liking that from King Ryan.
Pretty good from Crying Ryan, that one.
It's a good burn, man, but I'd be setting the line on him and Roberto Duran at about 90 seconds.
I swear to God, he is a knockout waiting to happen. He leaves that chin drying like he does. He hangs it out there, and it's going to be class, absolute class. The day that fucking someone drops it on him, he's going to go. He is going to go, and. So it says he's part time for me. He's just in it like probably a bit like Mikey Garcia, but maybe no total love with the sport, just in it for the money, but a shagging and that as well. You know, he's got a few baby mamas that go understand. You know, it's got
it's for the money. Part time fighter does a bit of shagging. What's the problem at the moment?
Nice work if you can get it. To be honest with you.
Only fans of the match, I suppose.
Well, it'll be interesting if he hangs out with Joe Goosen long enough to see if he can still get that much pussy while wearing a Hawaiian shirt.
only Joe can pull that shit off, man. But no, it's just like Garcia's just too busy clout chasing, man. Whereas fucking Duran just chase you about the ring and fucking clout the fuck out of you. So, yeah, we'll leave it at that.
How many low blows do you think Duran would land on Garcia on the first 6? Where the bookies drawing the line on that one, Matty?
With the thumb in the eye, I think, Matty.
I don't think he would need it, Rob. I'm pretty sure that he'd be able to beat him with clean tactics. Probably look a lot like Tyson Spinks, don't you think, Andy?
87 seconds. What was it? 87 seconds, 89 seconds. I don't know if it goes that quick, to be honest with you. I think he'd be on his bike for a fair, but again, Duran, when fucking savagely in the mood, made the weight properly, he was a fucking monster, like. Especially that way. As someone said in the chat, I said, what's not to like about this fight, Andy? Well, I suppose, Duran fucking absolutely taking the body on his record there. Yeah. Imagine that inside fighting. Fucking hell, man. That kid would get pushed to the ropes, eye gouged, punched in the bollocks, and then fucking body snatched on like fucking one combination of punches.
He'd get lifted off the canvas with one of them shots to the body.
Remember, do you remember, I don't know if you remember, but I remember the Ray Lampkin knockout, right? He fucking hit him with his uppercut, dropped the guy like a fucking bag of cement on the fucking floor. Got interviewed after the fight, he says he's only on his way to the hospital. That doesn't count. He says it only counts if he went to the morgue. Imagine coming out with a comment like that these days, man. People were going fucking woke cancer.
Reminds me of the Tyson one, was it against Jose Ribalta? And I said to him, hey, Mike, how did I fight? Another fight by KO. How are you? I wanted to push his nose up into his brain. With the uppercut, I was actually trying to drive his nose into his brain.
Mad bastard. Oh, Mike. Anyway, talking to chasing, here's a man who spent his whole weekend chasing. After breaking up some people wanting selfies, the guard has got to Ebbs. People trying to have photos taken with Ebbs.
I bet you unbuttoned the shirt and everything, too.
The guard wasn't having anything of it, Andy, but look, he got rid of them.
Piss off, lads. I've got a phoenix to see here. Tell us about the tattoos. Again.
Rising, baby. Look at this. He's all happy to see him today. God, how are you doing?
Look at the keychain on the jeans there, man. What dungeon does that look?
That's what you see, man. That's a Tower of London key, that one.
I don't know if she's happy to see him or she's leaning back like a prime Floyd Mayweather there in the shoulder roll defense to try and fucking evade any possible fucking
Look at the cameraman, Rob. Over to the left. He knows what's coming.
He knows what's coming. He's after cutting a hole in the fucking advertising yoke there. Tell us about the tattoos.
We love a bit of gab. Moving on. Joyce with the well-known boxing phrase, if you go outside and it's raining and you don't have an umbrella, then you might get wet.
Classic, that one, isn't it? That's up there with fucking, if you want to rob a bank, you have to go in and get the money. That's
factually correct trash talk, Rob. It's the future.
I like it.
Joyce. CR Boxing just come across the TalkSport interview with Anthony Yard yesterday. Jim White telling him he should be getting rid of the 37-year-old Beterbiev and then move on to the big fights was a highlight. Got to be a strong contender, says Boxing Squared. James Becker agrees.
Yeah,
as well.
Just go out and fucking trash fucking Artur Beterbiev like it's nothing and give us the big fight that we all want to see. You versus Lyndon Arthur 3.
Oh man, Jim White, yeah.
I can't believe these people get paychecks.
I know, they do. From Pobellum. Well, allegedly.
He's got a fucking brass neck, by the way, Jim White. Hasn't he still giving boxing interviews when he fucking completely ducked the fucking MTK connection? Has not fucking ever mentioned it once on his asking all the tough questions apart from that one because he's a great lad himself. Great bunch of lads.
On the Ebony Bridges thing, actually, I just noticed there, just going through Twitter, just trying to get up some of my Bill of the Weeks. I noticed she's put out a tweet there last night. Don't let your imagination run wild, boys. As she gets her picture taken with porn princess Ellie Brooke. So I think Ricky Gravel, Ricky actually follows her. So Ricky's still kicking about with that same account. Lana Wolf as well, Rob. So who knows what the guy was watching there last night?
Crimes against humanity. That is fucking hell.
I'm disappointed though, boys, to find out that the porn star fighter got canned, didn't it? Do you remember it was Astrid Wet against someone else? They had a fight, and then apparently one of them threatened the other one's life, and so she withdrawn because she was scared for her life or something, Rob, I think.
She was a bit Astrid Dry after that. She threatened her life. I'm glad I came out with that there just now.
That was a good one, that was a good one.
I didn't sign up to be in a snuff film.
Daniel Armstrong nomination for Bunter around 15 minutes into the latest pod. Talking to Usyk. He's talking to Usyk in the weirdest fucking voice. Usyk as an interpreter, you fucking ninny, says Daniel Armstrong there. Yeah, apparently he was going all Steve McLaren, Bunty, trying to communicate with Usyk. So good luck to him on that one. We've got a double header here. Oh, Rob, you mentioned this earlier, actually. I think it was either you or Andy. AJ signs for DAZN. Anthony Joshua's future fights will be broadcast on DAZN worldwide after the two-time heavyweight champ agrees to a groundbreaking deal. The global home of boxing. Eddie Hearn has confirmed that the Usyk versus Joshua rematch is not included in AJ's new DAZN deal. The Saudis own the global TV rights for Usyk and are now in negotiations.
Why you have to understand, Steve, is I'm not involved in those negotiations. Okay, so I might have mentioned it before on the pod, but I'm not involved in those discussions. So I know what's going on, but I'm not going to tell you guys. So an announcement will be made soon, and then we make another announcement when the announcement is due to be made. So.
Hold and reply. Fucking hell. By the way, can I just throw in Eddie as well for I think Rob mentioned the Viterbi fight. He's on that MMA hour where, what do you call him again? Ariel Harwani. And Eddie's like giving it full fucking forks, fucking tongue talk, right? He's fucking we'll do a private bid and stream it for fucking Bivol against Viterbiev. It's like, is he really having a fucking laugh here? But say, me and Bob will go into the room, we'll stream it and have a bit of a laugh. But Bob will tell him, go fuck yourself. Fucking hell, man. He needs to fucking go wise, not with this fucking shit. How often we've kind of called for these type of things to go to purse bids, go to purse bids that then get streamed, for example. He's at it. He's completely at it.
His legs are shaky at him at the moment because that's a precarious fucking position for the future of DAZN, because DAZN need an AJ win in this Usyk fight. And if he's not even the house fighter in the fucking, I don't know, like it's a fucking, you're relying on Canelo then and Triple G to prop up the fucking subscriber numbers. Like what, honestly, with all jokes aside, what worth is there in an AJ long-term deal at DAZN if he loses to Usyk?
I'll be honest with you, I don't know if you remember, we were talking to Ben about it during the week. I'm starting to get a wee bit of doubt about this fight now, actually, but Usyk getting a fair shake in the cards if it goes that far. I think Usyk needs a fucking knockout just to fucking make sure. The
odds are tremendously close on this fight. It's kind of a shock. AJ's paying about plus 165 right now. It's considering what we saw in the first fight, it's oddly close.
DAZN's not long for this world, is it? I don't say that with any great joy. I'm not saying, oh, this is brilliant. DAZN's going to... It had a Satanta feel from the start for me, even right down to the colours. I don't know how much legs it's got left in it, to be honest.
Yeah, it's got that kind of feel, mate. It's just, when you have to change your model within 18 months of existence, whatever it is. And the thing is, you've got no other content as well. You need football on there, really. You need some sort of NFL, something else going to draw in more viewers.
They've got Women's Champions League, Andy.
Oh, great, mate. Great, fantastic. I could probably stream that on YouTube or fuck off. I wanted to
see the highlights of the goals of the season for that are cracking at it.
Yeah.
All the missed kicks and fucking people falling over. Fuck off. I was all for DAZN at the start, by the way. They just haven't delivered on what they said, and I don't know if Eddie's to blame for that or Golden Boy are to blame or whoever the fucking guy who's bankrolling them is to blame. But the concept of itself, the concept in itself would seem great. $6.99, high def, couple of fights every week, big cards, stacked cards. No fights for you if you're not in the middleweight division. But they haven't delivered. Like the big, what's the biggest fight that's ever been on DAZN? Exactly.
Probably was Usyk Joshua fight on DAZN, first fight.
Yep.
No, Sky, it was Sky pay-per-view.
Oh, was it Sky? Right, okay, sorry.
Canelo had all those dopey fights on DAZN, and then he went over to Showtime to unify the division event planned.
Yeah.
I think it was on DAZN over here.
Yeah, maybe
you probably need to go down the weight divisions, to be honest with you, like something like maybe Roman Gonzalez, possibly.
There wasn't even like
Super
a big
Series. There's one of the Super Series finals known. Was it Donaire against Inoue?
Exactly. So we're reaching to look for even a big fucking fight that's been on DAZN, and it's been around there nearly 2 years. Like it's not going to work, man. Fucking give it up.
MB says Canelo Triple G. He must mean the third one. I'm sure the other two are both on HBO.
Well, they were. I'm pretty sure they were.
HBO, man, those were the days. I remember them.
It might honestly be Taylor versus Serrano.
Oh, flip me.
It might be.
I tell you what, Eddie needs to go big dog bollocks and go and sign Gervonta, by the way.
He needs to try and sign him anyway, doesn't he? Yeah, definitely needs a star. Like,
I was looking at his figures. Apparently, he'd only done 900 comps for his last fight against Romero, so that's fucking good going, considering that Eddie's fucking dishing them out like candy.
Javante will never sign with Eddie, I don't think.
I don't think so.
Oh, there's double Wellings coming at you. Might have to mute Rob just a second there as we go on to the next one. Trading leather boxing. Anthony Yard with some casual sexual harassment. Wrongans in the camps as trading leather boxing. Anthony taking photos out on the streets. See-through tights and white panties. Only in Ilford. I don't know where he posted that, but we'll screenshot it.
Gotta be careful of that. That's Bacoli territory, you know. You gotta be careful what you're posting on. Fucking can't do that these days.
All right. Shame. Declan, our dear friend Anthony Bellew has just picked Canelo to dominate Beterbiev. He then goes on to say Plant is better than Beterbiev. Hashtag Bellew of the week. Yes, Declan, we can get on board with that one.
Fuck off, man.
Holy fuck.
It's Bellew, Matty, come on.
That's
Bellew's, Bellew is like the Johnny Nelson of the zone, like pure company man, you know, like what Nelson is for Sky.
The only thing is you don't see as much of Bellew these days because he's on fucking DAZN.
You'll never see me again once I sign up for this business run through an app. That's Tone. Caleb Truax, he's always good value on Twitter. Chris Eubank Jr. says, planning that next move. Truax jumped in and said, waiting for the next notable welterweight to retire to call him out. He's a good laugh, Truax is. Who we got here? Oh, Chris of the Groat Shield. She's back in action again. Call whoever you'll want the Groat. This was in retaliation to people calling Savannah Marshall the Groat, or Katie Taylor even. Just know whoever you call him that can't whoop my ass. And I own Groat. So be careful before you get that paperwork from my lawyer. Better be careful, lads. Hashtag lawyer, hashtag Groat. Can't remember who nominated that, but I'll tell you what, the Groat's not messing around.
Imagine being the fucking lawyer and she's folded up like she want to fucking bring the case against Katie Taylor for calling herself the Groat. Okay, then.
The Groat. Get Jeffrey Benz on the case. Boxing UK has been nominated. I think Andrew McCormick threw this one in. He was interviewing Cash Ali. Cash Ali, who's number 11 in the world, as Andrew pointed out earlier. I will be heavyweight world champion. Cash Ali promises that when he lands his shot, he will take it, whether it's against Fury, Usyk, or AJ. I'll go from public enemy number 1 to superhero when I'm world champ, says Cash. I'm liking him, Andy.
Mate, he needs to get drug tested for fucking Deludamol right now. He might be ranked 11th in the world, which he is, with one of the bodies, which is okay for him. But Usyk, Fury, or AJ ain't looking at him any time soon for any type of tune-up fight or easy defence, mate. So just stay in your lane at this point, I would say.
Stay in your lane. Highly ranked. Here's another one from you, Andy. You sent this to me. Couldn't get the video in time, unfortunately, but we did get the picture. Punch Club teased a new format, Punch Form, on their Instagram. What are they? What is that? Like a shipping container or something?
Shipping container just like rigged up, mate. So it's like a few inches off the water there. So the guys are throwing punches at each other, and you'll only lose if you get punched off the sides. And I think the guy that's bent air there was the one that got knocked off there. So I thought that'd be good content for the zone, possibly, you know.
It's like redneck sumo wrestling.
I don't know when
it might actually. It could be good for the zone because it's something that you want to actually see the result of.
Oh, it's professional as well, mate. I mean, look at the referee. He's got a dicky bow and a shirt.
What's a shipping container?
He should have a fucking life jacket, but he just came dressed in a fucking What's his name? Diamante did the fucking announcement, but he swam from the fucking Egyptian Nile, didn't he? Just to get his pops up.
He just swam the Nile.
And then I swam from the Nile to the Red Sea.
To the
Mississippi. To the shipping container, and here I am.
And then it popped up at a fight where two fellas were fighting on top of a container, and the loser went into the side of a fucking stream. Like, yeah, Diamante, yeah, sure.
Come out like flying mince. Yeah, okay, David.
Imagine you're signing up for the fight. You're one of the fighters, and you're like, "Fucking, this is a big deal." Is it? Yeah, pal, it's a big deal. You're going to get a lot of exposure, and it's on a streaming app. No, you're going to happen to end up in a stream. It's not.
This is like Tucker Carlson's worst nightmare. It's like the worst replacement theory you can imagine. It's a future where they have said that white men can no longer earn a living and they're forced to go out and box in international waters.
Where was it, Andy? Was it in
I don't know, mate. I think it might be doing somewhere down the bayou somewhere, possibly. Eh? Down by the bayou. But yeah.
Listen,
well,
listen, MTK. You're not fooling anybody. If I see somebody on top of a fucking container, I know what's going on. All right,
Aye.
I know
what's inside there.
Open up the container. Winner gets to open the container.
Full of fucking drugs, man.
Oh dear. Anyway, we're getting to the big one towards the end. A lot of people have thrown this in.
No, someone will put that in the chat, actually, by the way. Sorry, fucking someone that said something similar. So credit to the fella who said that. I did come up with that one on my own, but
yep.
You can share
Be
the
safe, Rob. Be safe.
Yeah.
Be safe. Shawnee Stevo, do you lads know anyone that does wheel locks for Versace prams, as Mr. Fowler might need one in future? Seriously, so many questions on this. So apparently...
Sorry, man.
Fowler got the Versace pram, which is like worth about what, $1.5 or something, Andy, we worked out as, outside Iceland, and he's been on a mad social media, liked by Shane McGuigan, no less, a social media rampage trying to get this back. There have been some good memes floating about, but this was my favourite one here, done by Patrick.
Yeah, bastards. Yeah, fucking bastards. Who did that?
Fowler had this photo taken though, like a local newspaper when they're running a story, like a local mob.
Oh, remind me off here to tell you it's a good one. Close that. I can't. Fuck, I'd love to tell it on here.
The thing is, he said next to Iceland that was it called again? What do you call it? Home bins, whatever it was called, the fucking off license. So you're going to kick him out with Versace pram. I'm surprised he never came out the fucking shop. And the Versace pram was sitting on a fucking pile of bricks with the wheels going on it, you know?
A lot of fucking money in the CBD, isn't it? Versace pram. What's wrong with a fucking just an old Benetton job or something? Fucking.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
Standing outside Iceland, there he is, in his flip-flops.
You know, fair a pair of shoes.
Fucking what's the bait? He's like, can't believe someone stole me Versace pram and my baby's Rolex. Whoever did this is dead.
As Danny Young says in the chat there, by the way, who the fuck takes a baby out the pram, leaves it outside and expects it to come back again? Usually if you go to shop, you usually have the kid in the fucking pram. Or if you're out for a walk, at least, if you go to the car away, you just take the fucking kid out and just put the fucking thing in the trolley. Let it play about there amongst the messages.
$1.5 grand on a pram. Oh my god. Anyway, there you go.
I wonder if he was trolling eBay last night looking for the fucking thing.
That's all the ones I've got, Andy. Any nominations from you, please?
Got a couple for Steve Bunce for last night. Just saying, like, I think he'd mentioned the Joshua Usyk fight, saying not only did I expect him to beat Usyk, I expect him to beat him in style and look good doing it. So maybe just keep a wee kind of like eye on that one. Everyone said that if Jagba was the future of the heavyweight division. Steve Bunce again. I can't remember anybody saying that, unfortunately. Yeah, DAZN for that pay-per-view, KSI trash. One for Andy Cruz Jr. He's been caught trying to fucking escape Cuba, trying to defect. Serious indiscipline was actually cited, so he maybe just lost his career there, possibly. We'll wait and see. One for Anthony Joshua as well, gone with Robert Garcia. Now I can fully focus. Signing with DAZN. Sorry, now I can fully focus on giving the fans on DAZN what they want. Knockouts in the Glamour division. Excellent stuff. Robert Garcia for saying, what's the game? We got asked the question, what's the game plan for the Usyk rematch? He said, well, Josh has got the height, he's got the reach, he's got the weight, and he's got the power. So that's a good game plan, I think. One for IFL. I don't know if it's for IFL or for Coogan actually, but they actually put out a tweet. I think it was yesterday. Asking, saying a massive happy birthday to Coogan Cassius. Boxing wouldn't be the same without you. What are your favourite Coogan Cassius moments over the last 12 years of IFL? Well, for me, there's only one moment, and it's that time he shit his pants for Tommy on the podcast. Never really came back with the same energy actually after Tommy put it on him. So one for Cougs. possibly there, and one for Sam Jones as well. DAZN put out a tweet stating who should Conor Benn fight next. He fucking put up a picture of Jaron Boots Ennis. So Sam Jones wants to see a fucking public execution there. So I'm not for that one, to be honest with you. So I've got this week, mate.
But Tony as well wasn't happy with that, was he? He jumped in on Sam Jones regarding that, apparently, saying, why would you put them two together against each other? You need to build Conor Benn separately and make money. So basically, Tony's saying, we want to see Conor Benn in against no marks rather than fighting the best available challengers, which is similar, which is leading off the back of Tom Halton's question earlier, Andy.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, that's fair enough point. It was Anthony was probably right with that one. You know, you've got to protect your assets. Or protect your arse, basically, you know, for your employers. But it's just sad to see. It's just, you know, these networks just getting, you know, splitting. We just mentioned Joe Parker. Obviously, they're going for, you know, BT to Sky, scuppering that fight. People are struggling, and DAZN's just no any better either.
Absolutely. Yeah, Danny Young's saying about the Andy Ruiz skinny legs photo with a little waist. I completely forgot to cut that one, Danny. I'll have to try and get that for next week if I can. People fly them into me all week and I just forget to screenshot them, unfortunately, but it was quite a funny one. RIP Jason Chukwu. I haven't seen Jason Chukwu tonight, actually. Hopefully he's okay, Matty. More to the point. Never mind about Chukwu's longevity. What about your Bellew of the Week nominations?
I do not think I can add anything this week, Steve. There's just too many to choose already.
Absolutely. Roberto, anything from you, please?
I had one, but I forgot it. So nothing for me this week, Steve.
Nothing from Rob this week. If it comes back to him, no doubt he can throw it in. Let's have a quick rundown before we take our picks. First of all, we had AJ talking about his first fight with Usyk. Then we had Tommy Fury blagging his pullout against Jake Paul, pretending he couldn't get into America. Then we had Froch talking to Usyk. Usyk hadn't got a clue what he was talking about. We haven't got a clue what Derek's going to be talking about in a few years if they keep on wheeling him out. That's what he's going to end up like. Conor Benn, retiring people, taking bodies on the record without even fighting them. Duran against Garcia, we went through that. We got the Gad chasing Ebbs around at the show at the weekend. We got Joe Joyce's commentary. We had Jim White was nominated there. We also had Bunsey getting nominated again. Andy nominated Bunsey too. We got a DAZN. All the big fights, apart from the big fights, are on DAZN. We've got Anthony Yard shaming some poor lady in the street. We've got Anthony Bellew shaming himself. We've got Chris Eubank being shamed by Caleb Truax. We've got the Groat getting all legal. Cash Ali, he's not biting people anymore, but he wants a world title shot. We've got the world-class cage fighting containers. And finally, Anthony Fowler getting his pram stolen outside Iceland and all the joy that he's brought people over social media. Quite the rundown, Andy. Who are you going to go for this week?
Oh, it's a decent week this week, mate, to be honest with you. I do like the IFL comment, to be honest with you. Obviously, Joshua as well. He'll promising the big things for DAZN and then maybe no end up on DAZN. But I don't want to do it, but I got to vote for Anthony Fowler. That's look, it's a bad thing it's happened, right? It's a good thing a kid wasn't in it, obviously, but who the fuck posts a picture of themselves holding their kid with a fucking droopy looking face on after getting something nicked? Because I'm away looking for the fucking thing, or I'm actually knocking doors to find out where the fuck did it go. That type of shit, you know, no fucking taking pictures and posting it on social media for fuck's sake.
Obviously, what's he doing thinking anything, leaving anything with wheels on it outside of fucking anywhere in Liverpool, let alone a fucking Versace fucking pram? What's wrong with him? Like, he lives there, doesn't he? Fuck's sake. What do you expect?
As I was saying, I'm surprised he was just sitting on eBay that whole fucking night trying to find the fucking thing again for like £200 or something.
Sliders on him as well is brilliant. Fuck's sake.
Yeah, Matty, it's got to be Fowler for me. That's 2 for Ant. Who are you going for?
I got to go against you guys, and I'm going for the battle on the river that I'm going to dub Huckleberry Fist 1.
Huckleberry Fist? What Chicks with Dig? What is it?
I'm actually going to try to get one in this Saturday. It's been a little light in the action, but there should be enough to talk about by this point in time.
Now you're dropping the ball, Matty. There's a guy that fights on that format and he can't be knocked out, and his name is Huckleberry Chin. You're and to make, I tell you what, right? I'd be fucking. You're never going to sell BKB. They keep trying to fucking repackage bare knuckle boxing and make it interesting. You're not going to do it. But if you fill that fucking river full of crocodiles, DAZN. You know that you're struggling for numbers, baby. There's going to be no fights for you unless you want to fight a fucking fight to the death. and possibly be eaten by crocodiles like some kind of James Bond villain. So I want to see that. Like, let's make that happen.
Shipping container for Matty. 2 for fouls for me and Andy. The decision is yours, Rob. You could make or break this week.
Look, I think the fight on the container. Who fucking drew that up? Like, who came up with that to get the 2 fucking fellas? It reminds me of like. I don't want to go down this fucking rabbit hole. I'll tell you off here, but let's go for Fowler. Let's go for Fowler and have a nice fucking hat trick for Fowler there. 1, 2, 3 for him. The over under Fowler wins where the bookies draw the line.
Danny Young says, "Forget punches in the from the past. It's punches on the pond."
You know what you should do actually? You should have it up higher, mate. But
Is this fight on Sky, mate? No, it's in the river.
No, by the river. The thing is, you should take it. Actually, hold it down at the Everglades. That's what you should fucking do. Right? So the loser then, when he gets put in the water, he's going to get the fuck out rapid style, or he's going to get eaten. You know, so that'd be a good side bet for Matty to kind of bet on. Does he get out or does he not? Or does he lose a leg or whatever? You know.
Joe Kennedy says, "I never said we wouldn't fight on shipping containers."
You gotta learn how to read those contracts. Don't you like what kind of like seriously? What kind of a reputation must somebody have to like you can't find a venue and you're forced to fight on a fucking manufactured ring on a shipping container out in a pond or a river somewhere? Like what have you done that has forced you into this position?
It's bad when the fucking ringside doctors are frogmen, you know? Just scuba dive into the river to fucking.
Right, anyway.
You need to dig up Steve Irwin for the past to handle the crocodiles.
Yeah, it's not salt water, so he should be fine.
Damn beauty.
Anyway, yeah, we loved the shipping containers, but congratulations, Anthony Fowler. You are the Belly of the Week for this week, episode 481, and that is where we shall leave it. We've had a good laugh as always, haven't we, everybody? Seems to have had a good time in the chat as well. Don't forget you can come over to patreon.com/Boxing Asylum. If you want to join the Boxing Nutters Messenger group, we're doing our call-ins as well, which seem to be going quite well. Shout out to Andrew Neal, Jason Walker, and Davey Man 100 again, who joined us or increased their pledges during the week. Also, shout out to Johnny Horsecock Nelson, who threw in not 1, but 2 super chats tonight for us, as did Barry Bibb and Joe Burns. I don't think we had any more. Did you have any more super chats, Matty, or was that the lot? I feel like I'm forgetting somebody.
I think you could be, but I don't believe you are, honestly. And if that person did, we genuinely do apologize. It's been a slow week in boxing, and everything just kind of blends together.
Well said, Matty. Sorry to you. Whoever you are, we'll join you all again next week for episode 482. Matty will be in the hot seat. He's been on tonight, as has Andy and rapping Rob Kelly. I've been Steve Wellings. Don't forget to hit the like, subscribe, do all those lovely things. Why don't you leave us a 5-star review and we'll read it out on the pod some point. We'll catch you all again next week, and bye.
We'll never forget.
Golly, that's good at me.
Go to Adam move!
We want to be honest, yeah?
Crying like a little bitch. I've never met a fucking wank that can fight me.
I fell asleep. You're a fucking bum, you're a fucking asshole.
Rumple fucking stiltskin.
But allegedly, Oscar Rivas has failed a test.
7-year ain't it? 7-year ain't it? I will fucking smash fucking you.
I hope you fucking die.
Be safe.
I love Boxing Asylum. It's as simple as that.